The press box has changed.
But Mike said it best. The press box has changed. I mean, seriously, get over yourself. We're going to talk during the post game. Tim Reynolds, enough. I mean, enough.
I mean,
seriously.
you just got to know when
You're
the
not allowed to cheer in the press box. Did you know that?
Well, I did.
They were cheering for Will Manso. I think that's allowed.
And Goldie.
If the Dan LeBatard Show comes to a hockey press box, hilarity is going to ensue.
Yeah.
They're going to yell at Will Manso for 7 minutes, and you're probably going to have to go to a stairwell to write, man. It's just...
if it was 7 minutes, I'd get it. It was
is what
7
it is.
seconds.
Exactly. I mean, David, everyone else was saying hi. They were enjoying the show. They were laughing at us. But one guy is still clutching on to his newspaper deadline.
I'm a little
and it's
disappointed.
Tim Reynolds.
And is he your demographics, too?
I don't know.
I happen to like Tim a lot, and I imagine this was going to be like E.J. Raddick or something, but that's just a bad look for Tim Reynolds.
Listen, I went up to him afterwards.
This was the best part. Stugatz is like, I've known Tim for years. I'm going to go fix this. He walked to Tim and walked right back very quickly.
Yep.
It was a very quick interaction.
Well, he was writing. Okay?
He's on deadline. It's
enough of the deadline.
It's a
don't defend him.
I feel like playoff hockey. I got to get home. I mean,
yeah, we're on deadline too. We got to get that post game out.
It is a working press box. Tim Reynolds is a journalist who's trying to write, and Stugatz is back there. Hey, Will Manso!
That's Chris and Goldie. Don't leave out Goldie.
We're on deadline too. They're going to kick us out of that press box a lot sooner than they'll kick out Tim Reynolds, who's just typing away.
Those writers had their game stories done before the end of the
Precisely.
game.
Yeah, a good writer, right?
Oh,
what happened there? I apologize to him. I've known Tim for decades. I mean, Cody was done. He was out of there. I mean, you know.
What was that interaction like, Stugatz? Take us behind the scenes. You walk up to him, you say what, he says what?
I said, Tim, I apologize. That's on me. I should know better. Not Chris, okay? I should know better. I've been in press boxes before. I know you have a deadline. I apologize. And he said, that's fine. Just, try to keep it down.
That is way too long.
That was much longer than the actual conversation.
I always extend it a little bit. You guys
can we call Tim Reynolds and just ask him about what the interaction was like?
No.
Great Cody's back in my day. Seeds.
Seeds. Had a slice of watermelon lately? Popped a few grapes in your maw? Then you probably notice seeds are disappearing from fruit. And you probably see this as a good thing just because it makes life a little easier. We love us some convenience. In fact, it's a terrible thing, the de-seeding of us. Symbolically alone, the seed is the king of life. Adam gave his to Eve, and here we are, if you believe the story. If they take the seed out of humans the way we have watermelons, we're all dead ducks. Beans, peas, rice, coffee, corn, all seeds. Flour and oil started as seeds. All hail seeds. So what the hell is happening? In exchange for convenience, we are not valuing the seed's impact on health, biodiversity, and our food system. The genetic variability of most plants require seeds as essential to their evolution. De-seeded, artificially homogenized fruits rely on human intervention in the reproductive process, exposing the fruits to many pathogens. Plainly put, seedless fruits are not as good for you. They contain less fiber and have fewer minerals and vitamins than their seeded natural brethren. Seedless fruits also have fewer antioxidants, plant-based nutrients, and anti-inflammatory properties. But enough about this science. Bring back seeds because seeds are fun. Not to mention aesthetically and visually pleasing. Kids growing up today have sliced open a watermelon, have never sliced open a watermelon, and experienced the joy of seeing that juicy red flesh dotted with embedded black seeds. Nellie Doogie used to tell us if we swallowed a watermelon seed, a big melon would grow on our belly. It wasn't true. But as kids would make a competition out of seed spitting. You extracted the big seeds from the melon flesh. Tongue only, never fingers or a utensil, and you'd see who could project a seed the farthest. Every summer we did that. This was before video games, kids. Made our own games and toys. Flew a kite, kicked a can, spit a seed. Grapes were the real challenge because the seeds were so much smaller. We'd both pop a grape in our mouth, tongue moving, jaws in action, and whoever could spit out 3 seeds onto the table the fastest won. To this day, I carve real pumpkins and eschew the prefab foam and plastic fakes, mainly for the treasure trove of seeds inside. hundreds and hundreds of them waiting to be scraped out, cleaned, and roasted in the oven to become delicious natural snacks. Respect, worship, and bring back the seeds. I need a t-shirt that says convenience is overrated. Insist to your local grocer that you'll take your watermelon seeded, please, and the grapes too. I'm Greg Cody, and that's how it was back in my day.
Journalism is dead.
But journalism, as we know it, as you know it, what you wanted to do when you were a little kid, okay, it has changed. It has. It's changed, okay? You're not wrong. Stephen A. Smith is not wrong. You have to adapt sometimes, okay? Because the game has changed. Your priorities have shifted. No one cares how someone goes and gets the news that they get, as long as the news is accurate, as long as it's coming from a credible place. If it's Woj, if it's Adam Schefter, if it's you, if it's Diana Rossini, if it's Shams, nobody cares. You might care. Greg Cody might care. Stephen A. Smith might care. But you know what? You all sold out. Every single one of you, okay? Stephen A. Smith jumped inside the circus tent. I don't blame him. Why'd he do it? Because he had to do it. Because the game has changed. You jumped inside the circus tent. You did. You did so with me. Think about that. With me and with Greg Cody every Tuesday, okay? And so you have ditched journalism a long, long time ago because why? Survival of the fittest, Dan. You have to change with the times. You have to roll with a changing environment, roll with a changing industry, and that's what you decided to do. That's what Stephen A. decided to do. And for Woj, for guys like him, the game has changed slightly, where he went out and he sought reports, and he wanted to be the reporter. And you know what? If now he has morphed into a mouthpiece for the Blazers, I'm okay with it. I am good with it. I don't care.
Survival of the fattest.
Everyone, exactly. Everyone is selling out to make a buck.
What a terrible timing.
It was great.
Like that joke.
Hey, just give it up. You all want to be journalists. You're not journalists anymore. None of you. Not a one of you. Sorry.
You didn't even hear the joke.
I did. Survival of the fattest. It was great.
It just could have been done after Stu got stopped talking, Dan.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure on that.
But I'm okay.
You're splitting hairs.
Right.
Okay.
You adapt, you roll with things, man. That's it. You know, Dan, you started off, you know, if you're a driver, you drove a yellow cab and you were loyal to the yellow cab. You know what? But the game has changed to Uber, to Lyft, to private driving. And you know what? You have to ditch the yellow cab and you have to drive an Uber. Why? Because you'll make more money. Why? Because more people are taking Uber than the dirty yellow cabs. That's why. That's what you do. No one cares about journalism. You know what they care about? Laughing, being entertained. And you do a great job of that. And Stephen A. Smith does a great job of that. No one cares about journalism. People care about smiling. That's it.
You know, this morning I found myself while I was driving Claire to school. I told her, you know, you ask a lot of questions. You should be a journalist. And now here in this conversation, I just, you know what? Don't be a journalist. Like,
exactly.
Do something else.
It's over.
Sad.
You're going to let Stu Gatz parent your daughter. You think that's a good idea?
You think journalism is a good occupation to choose now?
No, I would not. Listen, not only is it not a good occupation to choose, I have looked around Miami and realized we're the only ones providing the jobs we're presently providing. I heard local TV reporters are making $45,000 a year.
Huh.
I couldn't believe that's how bad local television is struggling, that's the place that has arrived. And I told Chris Cody not to get into this business at all because it's terrible.
But Stephen A. Smith is making more money than he's ever made in his entire life. He has more power. He has more of everything than he's ever had in his entire life. You want him to give that up because of journalism? Like, get out of here.
I believe you can do both. You're being very
How?
You're being very absolute about this. First of all, he does. He does reporting, does journalism. He is very credible. When he gives information, it's not like Skip Bayless giving information. There is a difference. Skip Bayless also allegedly a journalist, but he's been contaminated by this thing and distorted by it in ways that are even more poisonous because he doesn't do any reporting. anymore. Like, he doesn't talk to people in a way that's informed. Stephen A. actually goes to things, has relationships, and certainly when he's talking about basketball, if Stephen A. gives you information that's not opinion, you trust that it's informed.
No doubt, but every time he does that show, Dan, every single episode, his journalistic integrity, it shreds away. Little by little, piece by piece, it just does. He is doing a debate show debating the most ridiculous topics in the history of sports. Like, it has to affect your credibility.
Stugatz, it has happened.
And you sitting next to me does not help. I mean.
or my dad or Cody, because I said
Cody?
to myself, generations of Codys, because I did say to myself, this is one of the things I find funny about Stephen A. and thinking that he and I do the same thing, because once I got to PTI and it was argument television, I said I'd like to try to do it differently, but I guess that sounds highfalutin. I don't want to do debate shows.
The knuckleball is dead.
The knuckleballer is dead now, correct? Completely dead. There's no one. Is there anyone throwing the knuckleball now?
Someone has to be throwing it.
I would say Tim Wakefield was pretty
None of us
bad.
have one. We're just like, yeah.
No, there has to be.
There's got to be. Well, wait a minute. The knuckleballer didn't go extinct without anyone telling us.
As long as there's breath in my lungs, there's a knuckleballer out there.
Put it on the poll, Guillermo, at LeBatard Show. As long as there is breath in your lungs, will there be a knuckleballer out there?
There should be more, because if you notice, I mean, I don't have any stats to back this, but I don't care. I'm going with it regardless. I would say that the position players that are pitching have a much better ERA than average pitchers do, because they're all just going out there throwing the ball like 35 miles an hour, and the hitters are so confused that they just get under it, they pop up. Like, nary a run is scored off of a position player sometimes, but not always.
I loved when baseball analysis was starting strong. I loved the people who would do the analytics on how a knuckleballer would screw up your hitters the next day. For the preparing for a knuckleball would screw you up the next day as well, because you're sitting out there hitting those 45-mile-an-hour butterflies.
There's nothing that I hated more, like growing up watching the Marlins, than when Jamie Moyer was coming to play against them. And I don't even remember if he was a knuckleballer, if he could just only hit 75.
Slop. It was just slop.
He could only hit
he was not a knuckleballer.
72.
He was just old, and he threw croutons up
Anytime there was a knuckleballer or just an old man that could throw the ball really slow, I knew, like, this team can only hit fastballs, and this is going to be a long day and a long week, because they're not going to be able to figure it out.
And it's frustrating because you're just seeing these meatballs go over the plate. You're like, how can you not deal with this? This is so slow. Hit the baseball. And yet, Jamie Moyer had a 20-year career. He was 40. He was still pitching.
What is the ruling of the committee? Is Stugatz is nominated? I need some sort of formal ruling from the committee. He has nominated Joe Musgrove. Billy is passionately against. Chris, are you willing to give him horse status, because horse status is before ace? Horse is not an ace.
Chris, before you answer, I have good news on the knuckleballer front. There is still one remaining. Mickey Janis of the Orioles is still throwing it. Okay?
The worst team in the league.
He's still out there, though, keeping the species alive.
It also
will not
seems
go
though
extinct.
Mickey Janis has only pitched one game in 2021.
Oh.
In Major League Baseball.
He's still trying.
Still breath in my lungs.
Yeah.
He is currently with the Chicago Dogs of the American Association of Professional Baseball, which I don't think is in Major League Baseball. So
it is extinct.
So it is extinct for now, yeah.
But extinct in the majors doesn't make it extinct as a species.
Yeah, exactly.
This may surprise you, Dan, but there are only 33 pitchers who have ever thrown a knuckleball in a Major League game, according to Wikipedia. Which I was surprised how small that number was.
I don't think that's wrong, Billy. Why would you think that's wrong?
That's wrong.
Let's all name knuckleballers we can think of and see if
well,
they're
no,
on
we'd
there.
never come up with 33 of them. 33 sounds about right to me. It's a terrifying way to make a living. Imagine all these guys. They're just failed pitchers who developed some other
Whoa.
Failed pitchers.
Someone with like a 15, 20-year career is a failed pitcher?
Yeah.
Well, Jimmy Moyer is not a knuckleballer. You made him a knuckleballer just because he throws soft.
Tim Wakefield.
Soft toss.
Yeah, across decades.
There are a couple of guys who are exceptions, but largely the knuckleballer is a novelty freak who comes out, and it is hard to make a living that way.
Jeez.
Rick, what are you
doing? I don't like how you're describing these things.
Right. Isn't Phil Niekro in the Hall of Fame? I mean,
is he? I don't think so.
You don't think so?
He is in the Hall of Fame.
319 wins.
There are 4 knuckleballers.
What was his career?
What's your standard for the Hall of Fame?
No,
he
that's
also
my,
had 274 losses.
No, that's my bad. He just pitched forever, and I should know that.
Nickname
Nuxie.
Compiler.
That is a classic compiler right there. Phil Niekro in the Hall of Fame with 300 wins and 280 losses.
Jesus, he pitched for 24 years. He started 716 games.
He had a 3.35 ERA. I mean, that's legit good.
He pitched in Major League Baseball until he was 48.
Not? You're right, Stugotz. I stand corrected. It is my bad. I should have known. I think of Phil and Joe Niekro as the same kind of pitchers, and they are not. Joe Niekro was not a Hall of Famer, and Phil Niekro was. But go ahead and Google image search Phil Niekro so you could see. Please enjoy. I want you visually to enjoy what he looked like in a Braves uniform. And you tell me if that is a baseball Hall of Famer, the way that you look at bodies today.
It's like Christopher Lloyd.
You need.
He does.
He looks like Gary Busey in that movie with Henry Rowan Gardner. What was it? Rookie of the Year?
He looks like a bit. Also, Gaylord Perry looked like this too. The old pitcher in the movie Major League, the old slop ball thrower. He's just an old man on the mound, is what he is. Jessica, what is your opinion here?
He looks like a retired chemistry professor.
Yes,
that's him when he's still playing.
His hair is so long, and I think it's coming out of his ears.
He's wearing a polo under that shirt. That can't be right.
This is what.
He looks like Uncle Dick.
Listen, when you could throw the knuckleball the way Phil did,
right?
He did. You could pitch forever.
Yeah. Greg Cody's Back in My Day, featuring In-Flight magazines.
In-Flight magazines. Slayed the pandemic. Traveling again. Big bird up. But something's different. I look in the seat pocket in front of me, and all I see is that cardboard pamphlet about the plane that nobody reads. The drink menu nobody needs, and the barf bag. Where's my in-flight magazine? Where did it go?
The Dan LeBatard Show with Stugotz presents Selection Sunday Live. The March Madness bracket show for the people. Because we also can't name another Duke player besides Cooper Flagg. Here's your host, Dan LeBatard.
I am deeply uncomfortable. I do not know anything about college basketball, but as you can see behind me, today is Selection Sunday with the Perts. We've got experts. We have summoned experts from all over the place to help you with the analysis, because I don't think I've ever heard Billy Gill utter a fact about college basketball in the entire time I've known him.
Why am I getting singled out? You want to talk about guard play today? Like, what are we doing here?
I think Jessica is the biggest expert that we have here on college basketball of any kind, and I say that even though Stan Van Gundy, I can see him right now, and I don't know how much he knows about college basketball. I will say, though, that I did see Jim Larrañaga walking around, and my father said, "What's up, Larry?" to him, called him Larry Larrañaga. Look at Stan. Stan, it's nice to see you. You are covering college basketball. You are covering college basketball this year during the tournament, as you have the last couple of years. But have you been watching any college basketball?
Very little. Very little. My job during the year is the NBA. I watch that, but I know basketball, and so I will sit down and when I get my assignment tonight, 8 to 10 teams based on if we have teams that are in the, in the first four, and I'll watch them all 2 or 3 times. It'll be 20 hours a day for the next 3 days heading into the teams. And I guarantee I'll know the teams fairly well heading into it.
Well, you're kind of cheating, though, right? Like you're going to fast forward through this. You're doing this the way that Barkley does it. Although Barkley often gets exposed on television because he's faking it and he just says number 15.
No, I'll know him. I mean, I'll approach it as I did back when I was in college coaching, and you get in the NCAA tournament and then you've got to start preparing for the teams you're playing. You get down to the film. I've just got to do it for a lot more teams, but I'm working with guys who know the college game. Kevin Harlan and Dan Bonner broadcast it all year long. And so what I'll get into is the X's and O's over the next couple of days and really understand the teams and the coaches and everything else. And I think I can add something to the broadcast. But no, I'm not. If you get outside of those teams that I'm assigned to, I can't give you a bigger picture on the tournament itself, that I'll admit.
Coach, what doesn't Kevin Harlan know? Because he knows football, he knows NBA, he knows college. I feel like he knows everything.
Yeah, it's a good question. These play-by-play guys are incredible, all of them, because they do multiple sports, and yet they're so well prepared. And when you work with them, it's just astounding the amount of information they can take in and retain and give to the fans when they do a broadcast. I work with some of the best, with Kevin in the tournament and the conference finals this year coming up in the NBA, and then Brian Anderson and Ian Eagle, Spiro Dides. These guys are amazing. I mean, we come in and talk about one sport for a little bit, and these guys know everything.
Larry Larrañaga is with my father in another room, and he's probably tired of talking to my father, I think.
Poppy is the best. You can't get tired of talking to Poppy. You can't.
In my experience, Chris Whittingham, play-by-play guys are obnoxious to go to dinner with. Your thoughts?
Well, I don't know about that. I wouldn't agree with that. I don't know what you guys think.
The way they order, it's just like, just say your order. Like, it's just like, I'll take the... You know, just very broad.
They get into broadcaster voice. All the play-by-play men you've had dinner with.
I'll have the creamed corn, please. It's like just
Chris
order.
Whittingham.
Just order the creamed corn. You don't have to.
Well, I got to tell you though, when you talk about broadcaster voice, a year ago, last season, Kevin and Harlan and I did an Oklahoma City game, and when you do the games, you meet with the coaches pregame for like 15 minutes, and I don't think Kevin had done an Oklahoma City game with Mark Daignault as the head coach. And so we sat in there to ask questions, and Kevin asked Mark the first question, and Mark's eyes literally got really big, and he looked at Kevin and said, "Wait, that's your real voice?" Like, he thought that Kevin just had a voice he used on TV and it was something different. He was absolutely shocked when Kevin just asked him a question.
I'd like to go to the other room where my father and Larry Larrañaga are so that you can see how they are both engrossed in conversation. They're on a bad first date checking their phone. I don't know what my father has to say. He has crushed the snacks. And while we will cover college basketball here and we'll get to whatever the selection committee does in a moment, when I walked in here, I walked in late because I got stopped by both a boat and a train on my way in. That's hard to do. But when I walked in here today, everybody was talking about this photo with Bill Belichick on the beach doing yoga. I've actually tried this with my wife. I failed. I got embarrassed.
Oh, man.
Yeah, she got mad at me.
Which part did you fail at?
I couldn't do what he's presently doing.
How old is he?
He's 72.
How old are you?
I'm 56, but
Just making sure.
Yeah, and so I failed at this, and then my wife got mad at me because I quit on it right away because I didn't feel
the core strength kind of thing. You gotta really use your lower abs, there, buddy.
What were you guys saying about this photo before I get Stan's thoughts on all of this? Was that report true this week that there was going around, circulating around the internet, was that his 24-year-old girlfriend insists on being CC'd on all email that Bill Belichick gets from staff at North Carolina? Was that a real story, or was that just something that spread fake on the internet?
That's real. That was like a Photoshop, a screen grab of some email where he's just like, anything you say to me, say to her.
Billy, why are you waving
Well,
your
because
hands?
Photoshops and screenshots are very different things. If we're saying it's a Photoshop, we're saying it's fake. want to believe that it's real. It's not unheard of. It's not crazy.
It certainly never happened around here.
What are your thoughts there? What were you guys saying about, or were you just looking at the Belichick photo and marveling at his core string?
Lehman and I were about to go reenact it, but he was going to be the one in the sky, and I was going to be the one lifting him up. But then we ran out of time because we went to the Miami Open this morning.
I was more interested in the post before because I guess they were just having a day in like Jupiter, and they were checking out a museum, and they just had like a whole like slideshow of just a visit to the museum, and Bill Belichick visits a museum exactly how you would. He's taking a picture of a train. He's taking a picture of the placards on the wall explaining what everything is. He looks very happy at the museum, and it's just basically pictures of Bill Belichick taking pictures of things on walls.
Stan, do you have any thoughts here?
No, I'm going to stay away from this.
Stan, I have a question for you. When you go to a museum, how do you experience a museum? Because Bill Belichick, if I'm going to be perfectly honest, he goes in museums the way my dad does. He needs to read absolutely everything that's written on every little paper, on every wall about every little thing. Like, he will tell you what a little musket shell, where it's from, and it's honestly kind of irritating because it takes a lot long. I'll go through and I'm like, okay, cool. Like, someone found like a little piece of metal in some battlefield somewhere. We think maybe that it's from 18 something, but like, let's go look at this dinosaur over here, you know? But like, they'll read everything.
That's me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me. And it irritates the hell out of my kids. Like, they won't go to museums with me, basically. Now, I'm not that way in an art museum because I don't really know what I'm looking at, and there's not a lot of stuff to read. It's just the paintings and everything else. But yeah, if I go in a museum, like I was at the Dealey Plaza Museum, where Oswald shot Kennedy, and it's not that big a museum, and it took us hours to get through because I literally read every word in there. My kids were so upset, like, come on, can we just move through this? So, yeah, I'm that guy, too.
When does that start, Stan? Because I feel like you weren't always this way, and I feel like I'm headed in that direction. Like, it seems like the older I get, the more I want to learn. So at what point am I, like, I feel like I'm probably already transitioning into reading everything at a museum guy.
I don't know. I think I was sort of always like that.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Especially history type stuff. I get really, really interested. I want to read it all and see what is there. It'll take me a long time to get through a museum.
We're going to check in throughout the show here today with Steve Kornhacki at the whiteboard, doing this very primitively, sort of like
handwriting the bracket.
Yeah, like writing on a cave wall many years ago at the beginning of language. We go out to Steve Kornhacki at the whiteboard to tell us what's happening here. Is there any outrage? I know Larrañaga wanted to watch some of this so he can be informed, Larry, before he comes in here. What do we have at the whiteboard, Kornhacki?
Dan, there does not seem to be quite a bit of outrage about what's going on in the South region as the bracket has been unveiled. We've done some early exit polling on what we believe is going to be early
it's going to be a long
polling
day, Dan.
on what's going on here in the South region as we take a look. Auburn, the number 1 seed, 100% of our polling shows that fans believe Auburn will win in the 1-16 matchup against either St. Francis or Alabama State. But a couple of matchups to look up here specifically. Louisville and Creighton. Our polling shows that Ryan Kalkbrenner and them boys at Creighton, 100% of fans believe the 7'1" center, who is a 4-time Big East Defensive Player of the Year, will be able to pull off the upset against Louisville. And as we take a look throughout the bracket, surprisingly, in the 4-13 matchup, 67% of our early polling says that Yale will pull off the upset against Texas A&M. 67% says Shaka Smart at Marquette will beat New Mexico, so don't be shocked if they make a run in the South region. Dan, we'll send it back to you.
Oh, my God, don't do that. Don't be shocked. Look how proud he is of himself. We'll come back to you. Auburn, everyone keeps pointing out, as if it means something, that Auburn lost 3 of its last 4 games, and Bruce Pearl doesn't like that at all. Let's play the sound of Bruce Pearl getting agitated and going sarcastic on us because he doesn't like everybody pointing out SEC's pretty tough, and they lost 3 out of the last 4.
3 of the last 4. Is this kind of a flush it, move forward? Is there panic at all? What do you look at with this?
Man, I'm really glad you asked me that question. We lost to Alabama, Tennessee, and at Texas A&M. Yeah, we're panicked. That's a real softball. We lost to some great teams. We lost the buzzer against Alabama. We had possessions here, so yeah, we're panicked. I can hardly wait till next weekend and start playing again. Just get me here. Let's get to Sunday. Let's find out where we're going. Let's find out who we're playing, and let's get back to work. I'm looking forward.
I want to know who Stan wants to call. What games do you want to have assigned to you, Stan? Who are you excited to see?
I'm actually excited to see any of it. I'll be honest. It's really fun to get back and do the tournament. The fans are excited. For the players, the vast majority of them, it's the biggest games they'll play in their entire lives. Really, the atmosphere is just so different from what it is in the NBA, and it's a lot of fun. So wherever I go, I'm going to be really, really happy. Those are great games to do. I work with really good people, so I really don't have a preference on where I go.
Billy believes that answer was a blustery bluff and that you don't know who's in the tournament.
It's safe while we're revealing the brackets. Yes, Dan. It's like, I'd love to say, because if he says, I don't want to see this team, or if he says, I want to see SMU doesn't make the bracket, then he looks like a silly Billy. He's not going to do that.
No, well, I mean, look, I'd love to see if Xavier gets in. Sean Miller's a really good friend. Tom Izzo's a friend, so I'd
at the right time, by the way.
I'd love to get guys, who I know and things like that. But I know a lot of these guys, and so it really doesn't matter a whole lot to me.
I want to circle back around and get your thoughts on Belichick.
Well, listen, the guy's a great football coach, so let's just go with that, okay?
Because I feel like you have thoughts.
I feel like he's trying not to say them, and he wants to move on.
My only real thought on the yoga picture, and then Dan saying that he couldn't do it, and you guys were getting on the age thing. But I was just going to say the average age there is 48. So, it's not that impressive that Bill's 72. The average age of that duo is 48. So.
I don't think anybody here was getting on the age of anything. I didn't hear any of that being done here.
They did. They asked how old Belichick was. They asked how old you were.
No, age is the one thing we couldn't really touch with that whole situation.
Implying, Dan, that, you weren't in as good a shape as Bill Belichick, even though you were 16 years younger. But I think that was a dual activity, and the average age is applicable here.
Thank you, Stan. I appreciate that expertise. Can someone go get Larry Larrañaga away from my father? I think he's probably tired of being next to Poppy. And go get also Poppy. I'd like Poppy to be a part of what it is that we're doing here, other than the snacks. Look, he seems very interested in
studying the bracket.
My father,
somebody's got his attention over there, Dan.
My father's, he's been given the brackets. He is fixated right now.
Something is there.
He should reveal the brackets to us. Like, whatever he's studying, he should kind of give us all that info, right? I mean, he's taking it in.
He was locked in on something.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell it was, but I want to go see what it is.
He was. How are you, Chris, doing the analysis? How are you? I need as much help as possible here with analysis. I've been, trying to fast forward my cheating the last couple of days to learn something about what we're doing during this 3-hour broadcast. But I'm going to say something that's legitimately shocking to all of you right now. I have never watched Selection Sunday in my entire life. I have never seen the reveal on a schedule. I've made fun of Billy for years about the NFL schedule and how excited he and others get about the NFL
tell us when
schedule.
Spain is already NFL. Enough with this bullshit.
And Ireland.
When is all that information coming out?
I don't know. They play this game. This is how the NFL works. I guess they send a memo to someone at some point. It's like, guys, remember it's tomorrow. It's like, to remember it's tomorrow? You never told us it was tomorrow. And now everybody's pretending they knew it was tomorrow.
Well, remember, there's the wife, the husband and wife duo that do the schedule by hand every single year. And that's how the NFL does their schedule. So they're taking time, just trying to put everything together.
Are they on vacation? Like, get it together. What's their number? Can we call them? Who are they? Let's call them. I just care about one game. I'm looking this up. I'll get back to you. Hey,
All right.
Coach.
Thank you. Jim, you and Stan know each other, right? You guys know each other?
Where's Stan?
Stan is...
And my brother works with his son, Jay. So
Did
they're,
you know
they're
that?
playing right now.
My son Jay and Jeff Van Gundy work together with the Clippers. And, and Stan, where are you living these days? In Orlando or where?
I'm in the Orlando area, yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so instead of watching the Clipper game, I'm here talking to Dan LeBatard.
Jim, you were very nice to my father while he called you Larry.
Yeah, well, my high school coach only called me Larry. And it was short for Larrañaga. And Jack Curran was his name. He's a legend in New York City. He won over 950 high school basketball games. He's the winningest basketball coach in the state of New York's history. But interestingly enough, he's also the winningest coach in baseball history in the state of New York. He's got over 1,000 wins in baseball.
Stan, you will appreciate what I'm about to say to Jim, okay, now that he has retired. And this is not at all to suggest, Jim, that you haven't looked radiant and fresh before, but retirement suits you, sir. You look like somebody who's a great deal fresher not coaching than you looked at the end of this season when that season ravaged you.
You know, stress, it impacts you. Inside, it pulls you in and you're trying to figure things out. And then when I stepped away, my wife asked me almost every day, how do you feel about your decision? You know what I say? Great. I feel great. I feel younger. I got a lot of energy. I'm going to write a book, Dan. I'm working with a literary agent and a collaborator. I'm going to write a book. I'm having fun doing that, telling all my stories about how we were able to win at Bowling Green and get to the Final Four at George Mason and do it again at Miami. After 53 years of coaching, I'm having some fun.
You seemed like you were a bit crushed that George Mason lost to Virginia Commonwealth here.
Now, you have to understand, the head coach of George Mason right now is Tony Skinn. He was my point guard on that George Mason team that went to the Final Four. So he's come full circle. He was a junior college player who asked me a question. I've never had a player. I don't think there's ever been another player that's ever asked this question. He had completed his freshman year in junior college. I came to recruit him. There was only 2 schools recruiting him. One is in the NCAA tournament, St. Francis of Pennsylvania, and us. And I was at George Mason, and Tony asked me, would it be okay if I don't play this year so I have 3 years of eligibility at the Division I level? Because I think it'll take me 3 years to graduate because of the credits. I said, that's fantastic. I've never had anybody even ask me that before. And you know what happened in that 3rd year? We got to the Final Four in 2006, and that has led to his career now. He played professional basketball. He was on the Nigerian national team that played in the Olympics. And now he's the head coach of George Mason University.
You have a ton of tournament memories. Do you have any Selection Sunday memories that are particularly special to you?
Yeah, well, the 2006 one was huge because in 2006 our George Mason team lost in the Colonial Athletic Association semifinals, and it was a 1-bid league. But everything my staff and I did and the players knew, we were building a team that would have a great non-conference schedule, and we would prove to the NCAA selection committee that we were good enough to be invited as an at-large. So when we lost, all the experts, Billy Packer and Jim Nance, they were on TV right after the selection. So we asked the committee, how in the heck did you invite George Mason? But we had done everything that the committee had asked you to do, kind of like what we're seeing now with Carolina getting invited. They played a tremendous non-conference schedule.
What did you see out there during the reveal that was interesting or surprising to you on any of the teams so far that are in or not in? I know that we pulled you away and my father was yammering in your ears, so you may not have seen everything you wanted to see.
Well, the first name that came up that was surprising to me was the matchup between Creighton and Louisville. Those are 2 teams that could go on and get to the Final Four. That's how good they are. You know, Creighton lost in the finals of the Big East. Louisville lost in the finals of the ACC.
Should I have been surprised that Duke did that to Louisville without Cooper Flagg? Should I have been any way surprised by that? And the other question I wanted to ask you, I'd sit Cooper Flagg for 1 against 16. I'd give him another couple of days of health, even not even understanding what kind of medical condition he's in. I might consider, dangerous as it is, sitting him that whole first weekend to give him an extra week of rest.
Okay. So here's the way I look at it, and it's always from my own personal coaching experience. If you remember a few years ago, we made the Final Four at Miami, right? You remember that?
Yes, I do. It's the best Miami team I've ever seen.
Well, Norshad Omier sprained his ankle in the ACC tournament against Duke. And that was on a Friday, and we played the following Friday. And he spent every waking minute in the training room with our trainer, Sam, and he got himself ready to play, and he played every minute. And if we didn't have him, we would have lost to Drake that very first game. And we won. He treated the ankle afterwards. We beat Indiana the next game and moved on.
You needed everything in that Drake game. You were down late in that one. Stan, what do you think? You always try and get your guys out there, right? You don't play with fire in any way. If Cooper Flagg is even 80%, you're throwing him out there 1 against 16?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I mean, Jim's been through it as a head coach. I've only been there in the NCAA tournament as an assistant. But listen, it's a one-and-done tournament. It's not – you're not playing a 7-game series. And we've seen it, right? We've seen 16 beat 1. I don't think you can take anything for granted in the tournament. But to me, it's always come down to either the guy's ready to play or he's not. If he's ready, there's no reason to rest him. And if he's not ready, you can't play him. And you leave it up to the medical people and to the kid himself if he's ready to go or not. So we're going to find out. I know they've said he'll be available. I don't think they want to endanger that number 1 seeding by saying he might not be available. So I don't think them saying he's going to be available means he's going to be available.
That is so funny. Stan, what if they had said, we're not really sure if he's going to play? Okay, you're a 2 seed. Wait a minute. He's going to play. Right?
That's exactly
that would be a quick,
right.
I changed my mind. And I agree with you. And this was with Norshad. The player's going to dictate. If Cooper Flagg says to John Shire, I am playing. I feel good. I'm not sitting this out. Now, John is going to counsel him, of course, as all coaches do. But I think once the medical team says, hey, it's really going to be up to him, I think he's playing. That's my opinion.
Well, yeah, and I think a lot of it, and I think Jim would agree with this, a lot of it comes down to what the injury is, and can he make it worse if he plays? I mean, can he do permanent damage playing on it? Then with a guy like that in the career he's going to have, you don't endanger him. But if it's just a matter of pain tolerance and everything else, well, then the kid's going to make the decision along with the medical staff, and you go with that.
Stan, did you go to tournament games when you were younger?
Hey, listen, I was lucky. My dad was in college coaching, and so coaches get tickets to games. I went to the 68 Final Four, the rematch between Lou Alcindor at the time and Elvin Hayes after Houston had beaten them in the Astrodome. That year I was there when UCLA destroyed them. I was at the Final Four in 72 when Walton had the huge game, the 21 for 22. And I was at the Final Four in 75 when I was a sophomore in high school for John Wooden's last game. So, yeah, I have some great memories of going to Final Fours as a kid.
Let's put this up on the screen for Jim and Stan. This is Stan Van Gundy at Brockport, class of
that mustache,
class of 81. That mustache has been looking for love in all the wrong places, my friend. Stan, good seeing you. We'll check in with you again during the tournament. Did I hear you right? Did you say you're about to put in 20 hours a day of prep? 20 hours?
I will, because I haven't watched. And so, my daughter was on me today. She said, why do you have 12 5-hour energies sitting right there. And I said, because I got to try to stay awake for 20 hours a day for the next 3 days to get ready for this thing.
We love you. We love your coverage, and we will tell people that he is part of the Turner CBS crew, and he is in his 3rd year covering the men's tournament. Thank you for bluffing your way through that, Stan, even though you don't know anything. I appreciate you making the time and faking your way through that for 20 minutes. We look forward
I love it, and I also love that you actually brought on a real expert to follow me up.
Yes. And all it said on his caption, it just said retiree is all it said of Jim Larrañaga because we're not respecting him enough. I want to get into that decision with Jim in a second that his wife asks him about, but let's go back out to Steve Kornhacke out there and find out on that whiteboard what he's got for us that is recent in terms of what Jim might be interested in here.
That's right, Dan. The entire East region has been revealed. I do want to go back to the South for just a second, as Taylor Vipolis's University of North Carolina Tar Heels are a surprise entrant into the tournament. Most people did not think they would make it. They'll be able to play their way in the play-in game against San Diego State down in the South. But if you look at the East region here, this would be a really good football bracket if you take a look at some of the teams. But you got Cooper Flag and Duke up at the top. And in our early polling that we've done here thus far to try to get a beat on what the nation is thinking about who will win these games, you can see 67% of the nation says Baylor will beat Mississippi State. 67% of the nation says Oregon will beat Liberty. 67% of the nation says that Arizona will beat Akron. 67% of the nation, unbelievably, it's surprising to see these numbers come back this way, Vanderbilt will beat St. Mary's. And by the way, Dan, something of note here in the East region, not only St. Mary's, but Mount St. Mary's. I cannot imagine we've seen 2 St. Mary's in the same region before in this tournament. We'll have our researchers get to it. Dan, back to you.
Thank you. Jim, what are your thoughts on North Carolina being in the tournament?
First of all, I'm surprised because one of the things the NCAA tells coaches before the season, it is all about scheduling, but then they add it's all about how many quad 1 and quad 2 wins you have. And Carolina's record in quad 1s, they only have 1 win in quad 1. So I think that's going to be surprising, and it could, in fact, impact every college coach's decision as to how they schedule in the future. Looking at it and saying, look, if Carolina, finished 4th in the ACC and was able to get in, even though they only had 1 quad 1 wins, hey, let's us upgrade our schedule. Now, what that will do also, it will really hurt mid-majors because then they're not going to be able to get any quad 1 games because the quad 1 teams are going to say, hey, we're just going to play the big boys because if Carolina could get in under that formula, let us try that too.
Yeah, but Coach, you're forgetting it's North Carolina. Come on, I mean, they're not going to have a tournament without North Carolina. That's silly.
Put it on the poll, Juju. Would they have a tournament without North Carolina?
I actually have a stat from Taylor. No team with just 1 quad 1 win has made the tournament with more than 6 losses since the term quadrant was introduced in 2017.
Wow.
Did San Diego State make the tournament? They beat Houston. They got in. So Memphis winning today helped somebody on the bubble, right? And San Diego State, have you watched them much? Because they can't score, but anybody that can beat Houston has my attention.
Well, first of all, I would predict that Houston's going to be in our Final Four because defensively, they're just a different breed of cat. Kelvin Sampson, he has built a program on the premise that if we can guard you and you can't score, we'll score enough to win the game. So as much as I think San Diego State has done a tremendous job, they were in the Final Four with us a couple of years back. That's a very tough matchup for them in the first round.
Selection Sunday Live is brought to you by Evan Williams Bourbon, game day's #1 pour. Evan Williams Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, Bardstown, Kentucky, 43 to 45 alcohol percent by volume. Enjoy responsibly, 21 plus.
I have put out calls to every basketball expert that we know around here. So there are others other than Larry Larrañaga who will be on with us later in the show. But we're also going to get some expertise from Chris, who's using every computer simulation that he can.
Hello, Dan. We'll be asking Chris GPT to predict the tournament for us.
Okay, so you're using artificial intelligence. And Jessica, how will you be helping us? And I want to get the rest of Larry Larrañaga's Final Four because he's got Houston in there. And I don't know who else he would say is a coach like that will bring defense no matter where it is that he goes. I suspect Izzo would be one as well. But who do you look at and say is the finest of the coaches, defensive coaches?
Oh, well, there's too many just to single out just one guy. I mentioned Kelvin because we beat them a couple of years back, and afterwards I thought that was the number one team in the country we just knocked off. And he has kept that going. They've got that culture, that belief. But now you look at what John Shire has done at Duke. They're top 5 in both offense and defense.
Makes Coach K crazy, I think. I think Coach K doesn't like so much that he...
no, that's his protege. He wants Duke to win it all, I'm sure.
I was just teasing. Jessica, what kind of expertise are you going to offer us here today? And what kind of expertise are we going to get from my snacking father who's in the other room hitting the free trail mix?
Well, Dan, you know I love a sexy mascot, so we're going to talk a little about some of these sexy mascots here in the tournament. Some matchups coming up.
We've got sexy mascots?
No Mrs. Met, but...
All right, so we're going to pair the mascots against each other and see what it is that we come up with. Your retirement, how difficult a decision was it for you? I remember Bobby Bowden saying he never wanted to retire because there's only one major event after you retire where your friends gather for you because it's a part of your identity. In order to be a coach and care the way you do, this is who you've been for 50 years. And so how does that decision come about and how complicated is it?
Well, the first thing, the decision, even though it was made in December of 2024, the very first thought, it began in 2 days after we got back from the Final Four in 2023 in April, when eight of my players came in and decided they were going to put their name in the transfer portal. Now, you're talking about a program that the year before we went to the Elite Eight. Now we're returning from the Final Four and should be celebrating the season. And instead, the players, in their mind, are celebrating the opportunity that has been provided them by the NCAA, by NIL, and the transfer portal, that I can now go and make a lot of money someplace else. Because at that moment, we didn't even have a collective, or I didn't even know about it. So we didn't have the money for them. So what ended up happening after dealing with those 8 players, I went home, I told my wife, I said, if this is the direction that college basketball is going in, it's really not the culture that I'm comfortable in. We'll move forward with this. I'll try to raise the money to keep some of the players. We're not going to be able to keep all 8. And then when they returned, the money was more on their mind than the basketball. How much money can I get? And so after last season, when we were awful, we finished 14th out of 15 teams in the ACC. I told my wife, if this is the direction college basketball is definitely going in, we're going to have to sign 10 new guys. And I don't know how comfortable I will be trying to bring 10 new guys into the program.
So you're saying 2 days after the Final Four, you're crushed because you go home despondent, right? That you don't even understand what's happening, that you should be feeling good about the accomplishment of the season. And you're saying one by one, they're coming into your office physically and telling you, I need more money.
It started at 1 p.m. on that Monday. We lost to Connecticut on Saturday. We returned home on Sunday. And on Monday, I scheduled a 15-minute meeting to talk about, okay, this is what we have to do. You have to catch up with your academics because we've missed a lot of school because of participating in the tournament for so long. You need to get some rest. We're going to take 2 weeks off. But then we're going to already start planning for the following season. And when I said that to the first young man, he said, Coach, I love it here. This is a great place. Get to the Final Four was awesome, but I'm putting my name in the portal. I said, wait a minute, what? You just told me you loved it. And he said, yeah, but my high school coaches told me I can get $500,000 if I put my name in the portal. And then one by one, 8 guys said exactly the same thing or close to it. And I was like, well, that's not the vision I have for this program. So it was a challenge for me.
It's just like in Rudy.
Kind of the opposite. It feels like the
they picked their jersey back on.
Coach, I'm leaving here. I want more money. I'm going to do what he just did.
I just picture them all going through Jim's pockets, trying to see if
What you got there, Coach? A lint ball? Paper clip? What's going on here?
Where's
what's this button to? It's not even the pants you're wearing.
Tony.
No, Coach, you got a stack pocket. My bad. Coach, me and you were 2 ships passing in the night during my high school recruitment. I want to bring up this video here. I want you to grade my jumper.
Wait a minute, you're bringing this up.
Coach, what do you think about this jumper here real quick?
Oh, sweet.
Okay, hold up. Let's see. That's NBA 3 right there. So let's see.
How did you make this about you?
Look at that shot, Coach.
Where did you play?
I played at Killian down in South Dade, and then I played a season at Miami-Dade College. Tore my meniscus. Had a couple meniscus surgeries, but look at that shot, Coach. I could have been DJ Vasiljevic.
He tried out to play FIU football as a quarterback without the ball.
Yeah, they screwed me on that one, Coach. But that's a different story for another day. I'll tell you that story later. But Coach,
anybody that can shoot the 3 like that is very valuable to any basketball team. Now, the only thing is there was no one guarding you.
Yeah. Well, I've got something else with people guarding me, and then we're going to show you another jumper. Here's Amino Hassan, NBA expert. This was his jumper, just to give you a reference point of my jumper. Oh, what do you think of that one?
No comment.
Yeah, that's a very nice thing that Jim just said to poor Amin, who doesn't believe that is proper context.
Because Dan, hold on a second. We do have another one where I'm getting guarded by people. Hold on, let's see if we can pull that up here, Coach.
I don't know
see. It's
why.
a little bit of a pro-am here. That one was wide open, obviously, but you see the stroke there. Here we go. Oh, in the corner. Guy's a little late to get out? Okay, that's easy.
It's a high school
That's
court.
cash.
Wait a minute. Do you actually consider that being guarded?
I'm just telling you there's defenders on the court.
Oh,
There's people there.
in the gym that day.
Look at this. But that guy was late, though. You know what they say, Coach? Hand down, man down. Here you go. With the dribble set. Easy.
That was
okay, come on.
hand down, man down.
I'm telling
that
you.
Was...
But, Coach, what's it about? Putting the ball in the hoop, no matter who's around you, right? That's what we do here.
There were people in the gym.
And defense has something to do with it, too.
Sure.
Something to do with it. Can we go back out to Kornhacke, or what else do we need to know about my father seems lonely out there. He's run out of trail mix to eat.
It's 8 pounds of trail mix.
I know, but he's eating it all.
Trail mix for sure.
Kornhacke, give me who's upset, who's been left out. Tell me what's going on here.
I don't know anything about that, Dan. I don't know anything about who's upset. I don't know anything about who's been left out. I know who's in. If you want to know who's in, I could tell you, because Houston is the 1 seed in the Midwest region, and of course Ethan Badowski's Florida Gators in the West region. 100% of those who we've polled, 100% of those who we've polled believe that both Houston and Florida will win in their 1 versus 16 matchups. If you look through the rest of these brackets in the Midwest and the West, only Kentucky, a 3 seed over 14 Troy, and Texas Tech, a 3 seed over 14 UNC Wilmington, have received 100% support of the population. And oddly enough, the rest of the odds sitting at about 2/3 of people picking one team or another. It's really crazy the way that the math is working out. 100% also believe that McNeese State will pull off the upset, the 12-5 upset over Clemson. But as we look around here, a matchup I really want you to focus on, it's Missouri against Drake. Now, when you're doing word association with Drake, what do we think? We think young. But that is not the case when it comes to this Drake basketball team. 3 of their top scorers are either juniors or seniors, including a 6'4" junior guard that I can't remember the name of, who is their leading scorer. So Drake is a fun team to watch here, Dan.
Jeremy.
Terrible.
Jeremy, I need to know who is your polling? Who are you polling here?
I've been speaking with Taylor, Gabe, and Matt Sullivan.
Yeah, it's Ethan. I don't know why you're quoting the people in the other room. Ron Magill.
2 out of 3 people believe that UCLA will take down Utah State. So really interesting analysis here from
Ron Magill. Also is a Gator, actually played on the Gator basketball team. We're going to bring him in to do some mascot talk.
That can't be true.
But yeah, he was a walk-on in Florida. He was. You didn't know that? He's told us that before. He's wearing Gator gear right now, but we went with Ethan Badowski for some reason. That's what we decided to do. But before I get to Ron Magill, Jim, Florida's good enough to beat anybody, right? Florida's deep. Florida overwhelmed Alabama yesterday, and Florida can beat anybody in the best conference in the country. So it must hurt you to say that the University of Florida is that good.
You know, one of the things, and again, you speak from your own personal experiences. Todd Golden and I, we reached out to each other 3 years ago and decided we were going to scrimmage each other. So we sent our Miami team to Gainesville. Unfortunately, I had COVID, so my staff had to coach the team. But then the following year, last year, they came back and scrimmaged us at our place, and we played it like a regular game. And when the game was over, I told my staff, that team could get to the Final Four. They are fast, they are big, they are athletic, and they have great guard play, which is the whole key. You have to have guards. And I think Todd Golden's got his team playing at its best basketball. If you win the SEC tournament, right, which they just did, and that's the best league in the country, according to all the experts, they got a legitimate shot of winning it all.
Do you have your Final Four? Have you selected? Or
well, I have to look at the brackets a little closer before I know for sure. I've got Houston. I don't know who's the 2 seed in the West who Florida would have to beat.
St. John's.
Oh, the Johnnies, coach. The Johnnies. What are you talking about, Rick Pitino, coach?
Yeah,
that's a tough matchup for St. John's.
That's a game worth watching because you have 2 coaches who have gotten their teams to play at the highest level of college basketball in any season. You could take St. John's from this year and put them in any of the decades before. Florida's team the same way, and they would have great success. You know, some teams are good for, like, we'll use Drake as the example. Drake's team is perfect for this year because their coach came from Division II.
All their players are from Division II.
And they came from Division II and stuck together. So one of the things you find in college basketball today is the older teams are very successful. And freshmen, like Duke has, they're kind of an exception to the rule. I'll be very interested. You know, when we were in the Final Four, there was no freshman, no McDonald All-American freshman that was playing. Right? So you say to yourself, well, where are those guys? Those are the future NBA guys. But they don't help you that much in college right away. They've got to be groomed.
The portal's taken over, right? It
does.
I mean, Cooper Flagg being the best player as a freshman on a team, that's good. That's as you just said, that's an unusual thing.
It is. You know, you got a lot of good seniors and juniors, especially fifth-year guys.
Coach, when you talk about St. John's being able to be plugged in at any different decade, I think you're absolutely right. Their three-point shooting percentages, 29%. They're 341st in the country in three-point shooting percentage and 282nd in the country in free throw percentage at 68%. So they can't shoot the three. They can't shoot free throws. What can they do?
Well, here's the thing about Rick Pitino and throughout his career, kind of like go back to the Kelvin Sampson. He has created a culture based on pressure. So one of the things that he does, he forces a lot of turnovers. So if you look at, there's only 3 ways to get the basketball. The first way is bad. The other team scores. You have to take it out of the net. The second is, which everybody focuses on, is rebounding. Oh, that team they out-rebounded us by 10 or 12. Michigan State, they're the greatest rebounding team. Well, Rick Pitino's style is, okay, we might be a good rebounding team. This year they're a very good offensive rebounding team. But what they do better than anybody is they force turnovers. And what turnovers, especially live ball turnovers, what they create, fast break layups, not threes. Now, you can shoot the 3 in transition.
Well, they can't. They can't shoot
They can shoot it. They just can't make it.
Because they got a Miami guy as their head guy, R.J. Lewis from Columbus.
Yeah, Christopher Columbus High School.
By the way, 4-time state champs, by the way.
Patino, how many Patino has gone to the Final Four? He's gone to the tournament with 6 teams, 5 teams, 6 teams.
I think it's 5.
Okay, and he's won the championship with 2, but gone to the Final Four with 3.
Providence, Kentucky, Louisville, but he also took. I think Boston University to the NCAA tournament and Iona to the NCAA tournament. Is there another one in there?
Well, St. John's, I think, would be.
Oh, yeah, now St. John's. Now to make the 6th.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And his rejuvenation is crazy, even though he's a vampire and he's impossible to kill.
Well, he's on Instagram more than any college coach I can think of. I mean, every time I flip on Instagram, it's the Rick Pitino show, his halftime talks and his interviews. It's unbelievable. And New York has fallen in love with him. And that's one of the reasons, the Big East tournament is in Madison Square Garden.
Coach, how often do you turn on Instagram, just incidentally?
This is the longest I've been off of Instagram since being on the TV show.
Really?
Yeah,
what are you doing? What's your algo?
No, I scroll on there. There's a lot of basketball stuff, and there's a lot of quotes. There's stories on there.
Any food stuff?
No, food.
Lots of butts.
No, I don't. I try not to eat.
You try not to eat?
Yeah, I don't.
Coach,
like,
come on.
I don't like eating.
You don't like eating?
No, I don't like food.
Hold on a second. Poppy, let's go out to my father real quick. Did you hear
Our
what...
eating expert.
Poppy, did you hear what Larry just said, Poppy?
Yeah, he sounds like a rookie to me.
Yeah.
What is That's my life, eating.
Poppy, can you explain to me what... have you ever met somebody who just says, I don't like eating?
Well, he's not in my club. I don't care. I love eating, so whatever he says is wrong.
That's right.
Well, I grew up in the Bronx in New York City. My mom fixed me the same breakfast every day for 4 years. It took me an hour and a half to get to high school. So I woke up at 6:30 in the morning. I ate a bacon sandwich and had an eggnog. That was my breakfast every day for 4 years. And my lunch was exactly the same every day for 4 years. 10 Reese's peanut butter cups.
Jesus. Sounds amazing, honestly.
Wait a minute. I'm not finished. And then when I got home at 9 o'clock at night, because it was an hour and a half after we practice would end at 6:30, 7 o'clock. I get out of the shower. I get to the bus stop. I take the bus home. It was 9 o'clock. I was starving. I had a slice of pizza and a Coke. That was my diet for 4 years in high school.
That is really unhealthy, and you weren't fat because you were playing basketball.
Oh, I only weighed 175 pounds. I was skinny as a rail.
What is that as a diet, though?
I mean,
that's
Dan,
all
you're
I
not
could
one
afford.
to talk.
Are you kidding me? What do you mean I'm not one to talk?
Weird diets.
Yeah, but what is that? Like, I've never heard of such a thing. For 4 straight years eating total crap.
Oh, not for 4 years. For 50 years. Now, what I eat, am I allowed to mention the fast food places?
Give it to us. Oh, I love it.
I eat at McDonald's and Burger King. When my George Mason team made it to the Final Four, I invited all the media. I said, I'll buy you lunch. So we had like 20 guys who were, hey, we're going to Coachella's taking us to lunch. When I took them to McDonald's, they were livid. I said, and half of them left. They said, no, I'm not eating here.
What's the go-to order for McDonald's? What do you get?
Oh, yeah, you got to get a number one. I mean,
how it comes, or do you get any special order, plain, anything like that?
What? Is there a special order? I
Yeah.
didn't know that. Maybe I'll have to try. No, I get a number one medium. More recently was with a Diet Coke with no ice, but
Quarter pounder, Larry, quarter pounder.
That's a number 2.
No, that's a number 3. It's a number
quarter
3.
pounder is 3.
It's number 3.
No, what's number 2 then?
Is it the 2 cheeseburger meal?
Billy, you said it.
No.
Go ahead, Billy.
Bobby, you have some real expertise there. What is the...
I'm telling you. See, he's singing my song. Burger King, McDonald's, that's right down my alley.
Oh, that's...
you say you hate eating now?
I don't like eating. No, I really don't. My wife and I, when in Coral Gables, there are some fantastic restaurants, right? But we live off of Red Road, which is a straight shot from my house to campus. Red Road to Ponce, and I'm at my office. And along the way, there was a restaurant called Schuler's, Don Schuler's place originally, and it got passed along. We ate there after every home game when we won. If we lost, I went home. I wouldn't want to talk to anybody after a loss. But if we won, I'd take some friends and we'd go to Schuler's. Because there's only one thing I really like about eating, and that is convenience. So if McDonald's, they're everywhere. Burger King, they're everywhere. Chick-fil-A, everywhere. So you can get a nice fast food restaurant wherever you go. My assistant coaches hated traveling with me because they wanted to eat healthy. Coach, where do you want to go? Let's go to McDonald's. No,
these kids now with their kale smoothies, am I right?
Yeah.
Coach, that Shula's 347 Grill, RIP, by the way. tough parking in that place. You could never find parking. If you didn't find it right in the front, you had to go around the corner, and then that lot was the worst. They always give you a ticket. If you're 1 minute off, they would give you a ticket in that lot. That lot sucked.
Yeah, well.
Larry, no black beans and rice?
No.
Oh, man, you don't know what you are missing.
We've left Ron Magill over there for a while, unacceptably. Are you insulted, Ron, that Chris Cody doesn't believe that you were a walk-on at Florida?
I was a walk-on. I was a walk on the practice squad. I never played in the team. Okay, I was a walk-on in the practice squad, and they picked me up because their top recruit that year, a guy named Reggie Hanna, kind of flunked out, and I won the one-on-one all-campus intramural tournament. So I was the one-on-one champion, and Coach Ed Vischer came up to me. He was in the transition there.
Wow.
Coach Vischer came up to me and said, "Hey, you mind coming out?" And I played on the practice squad. It was great. I got to take all that practice gear home, and I took it all home when we left. And it was eye-opening to me, too, because, I thought to myself, I went to Florida because I thought I wanted to go to veterinary school. I didn't think I would get in the program. I had some scholarship offers around the country at other schools, but it was a wake-up call because I remember, I don't think ever in high school I had a shot blocked. And my first shot I took in a practice game at Florida, this guy just blocked it up into the top. We played in a place called Alligator Alley back then, before the O'Connell Center. And, it was a wake-up call. It's quite a talent.
What was the name of the guy that beat you out?
The guy that beat me out.
Yeah, you and someone else.
Reggie Hanna. A guy named Reggie Hanna was their top recruit.
You and Hanna's, huh? Back to back.
Well, no.
Facing off. You and Jack, you and Reggie.
This guy was about 6'8". He had rockets for feet, and he just was not the brightest bulb in the chandelier.
I've had a few of those.
And Coach Joe, listen, I don't want to sound patronizing, but you are a player's coach in every way. I've been seeing you as you coached, and I've watched you, and boy, I would have loved to have been on a practice squad with you. I say that as a Gator.
Oh, thanks, Ron. No, I love coaching. That was my whole life.
I actually almost wrote a letter to the Herald when you retired, and I felt like the game was going to crap with all this NIL stuff because I said they were losing the spirit of what.
What's this? Almost wrote a letter to the Herald.
It's the thought that counts.
Either write a letter or don't write a letter.
I didn't want to seem too patronizing about it, but you can talk to my wife. I said that coach is a player's coach. He's everything that's right about college basketball, and this NIL stuff is everything that's wrong about college sport.
Hey, Ron, it's not too late. You can write a letter.
Write a letter today. I'm trying to get credit for doing it.
I'm trying to stay relevant. People talk about me, so I'm not retired. I just stepped down from coaching.
Yeah, well, okay. I'm going to write the letter. Let's see if I can.
Jessica, can you set up what we're doing with Ron here?
It's a long time no see. It's Coach Jimbo Fisher here. I was wondering who you think the finest mascot is of the Wilma the Wildcat, the Arizona mascot, and Sasha, the Houston Cougar mascot. We'll put them up on the screen for you in a second here. They are both quite fine ladies. Your expert animal opinion.
Okay, now I'm looking at the Arizona one there. Now, you know what? I'm going to have to go, not Arizona. Who's the other one?
It's
Houston.
Sasha.
Houston. Yeah, I'm going with Houston. She's a babe. She's got everything working for her there. It's got a little added color. I like the eyelashes. There's a lot going for her there.
Some sass.
Yeah, she's got some sass. That's the right word, Dan. That's why you're the journalist and I'm not.
I don't think that's why. But when I intend to write something, I just write it. What else do we have here, Jessica, with the mascots? I've got a ton of mascots in front of me. Are we going to match up the mascots against each other?
Well, we do have a potential, Ron, for your Florida Gators. No offense to Alberta, but she did not make it to the finals of the sexy mascot competition. Jimbo Fisher, not his type, unfortunately. But if they do make it all the way to, the 1-2 matchup with St. John's, Johnny Thunderbird could be matched up against your Florida Gators there.
Let me just ask you something. Let's use our common sense here, even though that doesn't seem to be too common lately. Have you ever seen a bird hurt a gator?
Well, no, but I saw in Harry Potter the Phoenix actually gouged the eyeballs out of the basilisk in the second movie. So I don't know. There could be a way where a bird could swoop down and attack it and then disable it and then kill it.
Okay, let me explain something to you. I have seen gators that have lost a leg, an eye, and most of their tail just devour birds nonstop. I've never seen any bird, even a flipping bald eagle, come down. And that St. John's.
Are you saying Harry Potter's not real, Ron?
I'm not saying Aristotle's not real. Does that St. John's bird look like to be a phoenix? That's not a phoenix. That's some little red flipping bird, like a cardinal or something like that.
I don't even know what it is supposed to be because isn't their mascot the Red Storm?
Yeah, I
is
don't
it like
know
a
about that.
is
Yeah.
it like a group of
exactly.
red
So
birds?
you're coming up with some dummy mascot, so you can put somebody in some silly looking uniform. Come on, a gator is the most resilient animal on the planet. You cannot
Cockroach,
figure out.
Ron.
Cockroach.
Yeah, cockroach.
Yeah, have you ever seen a cockroach kill a gator?
No, but I've seen one withstand a nuclear blast.
Yeah.
Really?
You have not seen that.
In Japan.
Put it on the poll at LeBatard Show. More resilient creature, the gator or the cockroach?
He's seen it in Japan, Dan.
Does that mean the gator would be the most fearsome of all the mascots in this bracket?
Yeah.
Like, there's not a single mascot in NCAA basketball in the men's bracket here that could defeat a gator.
No, there isn't.
Memphis
But
Tigers,
several
though,
of
Ron?
them are humans. Like, there are several
No,
Spartans.
I take that back. I take that back. I want to take that back. But it's already been proven wrong. The only animal that I have seen defeat a gator, and if they don't ever come together, but if you put them together, would be an elephant. So I would give it to Bama on that as far as their elephant mascot goes. Okay, there's an incredibly powerful, incredibly intelligent animal that, theoretically could pick a gator up and flop it around and maybe, break its back, crush its skull, and do all kinds of stuff like that. That would be probably the only other animal. But there's no real big cat. There's no other big animal that would have the advantage. It might be kind of a 50-50 with LSU Tigers, maybe. 50-50 with a tiger. But at the end of the day, gators, they survive injuries better than any other animal on the planet. They're incredibly resilient. Like I said, they can lose a limb and they don't bleed out. They can lose eyes. They can lose part of their jaw and they survive, whereas most of those other animals do not.
But, I could buy gator boots today if I wanted to. They're not that difficult to kill.
Billy, sometimes you just pull stuff out of your butt that's just incredible to me.
Put it on the poll. Does Billy sometimes pull stuff out of his butt that's just incredible to you at LeBatard Show?
That's crazy.
What about the Mississippi Tony the land shark? What do you do with a land shark, Ron?
You drink them, am I right, Ron?
Ron defends it no matter what. It could kill children, and Ron would defend
the land shark dies. The land shark dies, okay? That's like saying, okay, what do you do with Tony the tiger in the water, in the ocean? It dies too because it drowns. Land shark needs to have water. It needs to have water to live, okay? So when you put it on a hardwood court, it's going to die.
What else do we have here among the mascots that we want to get to with Ron before we let him get on with his evening? What are some? Oh, that's a fine. You're gonna owe us $5, Larrañaga.
Do you know what that is?
I don't know what that is. What happened?
The alarm tells me don't eat anything the rest of the night. It's set for 7 o'clock every
You need
night.
an alarm to tell you that? You don't like eating in the first place.
Jim, you've eaten so much crap the entirety of your life that you are somebody that it doesn't matter what time you eat. Clearly, your body is resilient and can handle anything.
I only eat McDonald's after 7 p.m. It's weird. I have the opposite rule.
Thank you for
Ron, I feel like a grizzly bear could defeat a gator, though.
Yeah, duh.
No, sorry, you're wrong.
Okay. So the Gators, the Gators are the champions then, according to Ron Magill, because he's not biased at all on this subject. He believes. But you're also telling us factually that among all of the mascots that I put in front of you here, if I give you every single mascot, you're telling us that the Gator is the most resilient, but is it also the fiercest of the mascots?
No, I'm not going to say it's the fiercest. I would say the fiercest. I don't know. Did Michigan make it into the bracket?
The Wolverine, yes, Michigan.
Wolverine,
Michigan. Actually, Jim, you can help me with Michigan. Are there a lot of teams that have 7-footers setting screens for other 7-footers?
Yeah,
I was watching that with Michigan, and I'm like, I haven't seen that a whole lot.
Very unusual. Dusty May has done an absolutely fantastic job of combining the various talents. I don't know anybody that plays those big guys as well as Michigan does.
We're going to let Ron go now.
Okay. No, but wait, I got to tell you one more. One more. Michigan Wolverines, Wisconsin Badgers. Badgers, Wolverines, the two fiercest animals on any bracket on any planet.
Thank you. You always
Well,
say
we just
that.
saw that matchup, Ron. That would have been useful information 3 hours ago.
That's correct.
I was here. They keep putting me off. The producer goes, hey, we got to go to 6:25. Hey, we got to go to 6:35. And I still waited 10 minutes before you got to me.
Do you want David Samson's number? You guys could text about this.
I'm sorry, Ron. We were a little disorganized getting started. Thank you for your help today and every day. I will remind people that April 13th, we are doing a domino tournament to support Ron Magill's endowment. All of the proceeds go to Ron Magill's endowment. And if you want to partake in that, PoppyDominoes.com is where you go. Poppy, do you want to do some promotion of your domino tournament here on April 13th? Do you want to?
Just show up. We got plenty of open seats there. You know, it's a hell of a deal.
Okay, PoppyDominoes.com. There will be food. There will be live music. Ricky Williams will be there. Members of the show will be there. Poppy, Ricky's never beaten you in dominoes, correct? You're undefeated against Ricky.
Yes. He's trying to beat me every time we play dominoes. So maybe this is his first time. You never know.
Poppy, you want it? We do know he's. We can you lay down, Poppy? You want to get more comfortable there?
No, I'm good.
Okay. We are. He can't beat you, Poppy. There's not. You're an excellent dominoes player. Everybody that has ever played you in dominoes knows how good you are at that. It's not. You're not supposed to say when trash talking a Ricky Williams and being undefeated against him, Poppy, that maybe this will be the time he wins. You got to tell him you're going to annihilate him in Spanish.
Well. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't want to give him a hard time. I want him showing up for the tournament. I guess that if I'm too rough, he's not going to show up. So, you know.
Fair enough. PoppyDominoes.com is where you go if you want to be partaking in this tournament. When we mentioned Michigan and Wisconsin, Michigan drubbed Maryland on the boards yesterday because they've got such height. And tell me why I'm wrong in never believing in Wisconsin. I know Wisconsin shoots free throws exceptionally well, but I refuse to believe in Wisconsin. Tell me why I'm wrong this year.
No, Greg Gard is an absolutely terrific coach. He, again, has a very, very specific style. He is a Wisconsin guy, and the history of that program is a slower tempo, similar to what Tony Bennett did at Virginia. Played great the pack defense, try to prevent layups and post players from beating you, and they've done a great job for decades with several different coaches. When Bo Ryan was there, when Dick Bennett was there. And Greg Gard is doing the same thing. They're good.
I hate that style, though.
Yeah, it's not as much fun for me to watch and to play in, but it wins. There's a lot of coaches that believe in it.
Dan, do you like anything that comes out of the Midwest? Perhaps the states of Wisconsin,
cheese,
Minnesota.
There we go.
You can't have cheese.
Yeah. Coach, you like cheese?
Yeah, I like cheese.
There we go.
Not after 7, though.
Now we're connected.
Not after 7.
Do you have an alarm for any other reasons, or it's just that?
Yeah. 7 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock at night.
Okay. Let's go out to Cornhacky again to find out. I still don't know who's gotten snubbed, who's outraged, what kind of controversy is there. I don't think that this year did Texas make the tournament. They were 6-12 in.
They're in the play-in game.
They're 6-12 in the conference
against Xavier.
Barely 500.
But it's Texas, Dan. Come on,
exactly.
Coach knows you
UT,
have a tournament without Texas.
Hook 'em, right, Coach?
Yeah,
Coach.
hook 'em horns.
Mm-hmm.
Dan, there actually is controversy afoot because the chairman of March Madness this year, the committee chairman, is none other than the University of North Carolina's athletic director. Now, what makes this interesting is he does have to recuse himself from conversations, but Dan, the last team into this tournament, the 68th team to make it in, of course, that's the North Carolina Tar Heels. So clearly, there's some sort of influence here from the athletic department and the Atlantic Coastal Conference. When you look at the first 4 out, it's West Virginia, Indiana, Ohio State, and Boise State. Now, interestingly enough, 3 of those 4 teams made the college football playoff. They're just 3 of the 4 teams who are the first 4 out here in March Madness. But as we look across all the different regions, Dan, you might want to know, where is the talent? Which are the most talented teams that I need to be looking for if I want to watch these guys in the NBA someday? So 18 of the 30 potential first-round picks, according to the latest mock draft from ESPN.com, are playing in this tournament. Otherwise, their teams did not make the tournament or they're international players. If we look at each region, in the Midwest, you only have 3 potential lottery picks. In the West, you have 5 potential lottery picks. Here, with our high-tech board, we'll zoom in. In the South, you have 4 potential lottery picks. And, of course, in the East, thanks to Cooper Flagg and his fellow classmates at Duke, 3 lottery picks on that team, 6 overall in the East region, including VJ Edgecombe. That makes it 4 of the top potential picks are going to be right here in the East region. So plenty of talent to go around, plenty of controversy to go around as well, Dan. And finally, my favorite matchup. We have Kansas against, no, not my Kansas, but our Kansas. 7-10 matchup in the West.
That was a bad joke.
Another bad joke. Jim, are you like me? Because, and I don't know whether the view I have is the view the audience has, but I can't read any of his handwriting. so the writing is so small. Are you like me? Can you see? If I ask you, yes, if you make it that big, then I can see it. But when it was smaller, I wasn't able. I'm
glad for the note, the 7th time we went to Jeremy, Dan. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Where were you on this? Because I couldn't see. I think it's kind of perfect that we can't even see what he was
I was
written on
watching
his
Coach
book.
L watch Jeremy, and it was pretty great.
What was great about it? I want to know. Did
Your
I
facial
look
expression,
surprised?
Coach.
Facial expression just did not
You're
change for 7 minutes.
You're thinking this is the height of entertainment right here. I'm in it.
What did you think of what he said? Indiana out, Boise State out. The 4 that he said were close calls, but are not in the tournament. Because I don't believe once you can't get past Texas, you really don't have much of an argument this year on whether or not you should be in the tournament. I don't think there are 68 teams that are necessarily worthy of making this tournament.
Yeah, that's the funny thing about how people view the tournament. My goal in the last years of my coaching career was to try to get the tournament to expand, go to 96, play another round, because you just don't know how good certain teams are. And if they're left out, like a Boise State, how many times you watch Boise State on TV? No,
Dan?
nobody's never seen them play. I've never seen them play.
Dan watched a ton of Ashton Genty
Ashton
last
Genty's
season.
awesome.
Yeah. But Cam Ward was better.
When you don't know a team, that's why our George Mason team, when we made the tournament in 06 and Billy Packer was crushing us, saying we didn't deserve to be in. Well, we beat Michigan State, who has been in the Final Four the year before and had 4 starters returning, 3 guys drafted at the end of that season. We beat North Carolina, the defending national championship. They won the national title the year before, and they had the national freshman of the year in Tyler Hansberry. And then we beat Connecticut that had 5 NBA players. So, mid-majors, they're not as highly regarded, and for a good reason. They don't have as much physical talent. But as I said, there's some mid-majors in this tournament that I think are good enough to advance. VCU, Drake, we played against both those teams. And they got some very, very good players who really know how to play.
We have an assortment of guests we're going to be going to over the course of the next couple of hours because we are farming out a lot of our lack of expertise for people who have expertise.
Lack of expertise.
And is our next guest there? Because I haven't been able to put these records side by side, Larrañaga at the University of Miami and Leonard Hamilton at the University of Miami. But Leonard Hamilton, a fellow retiree, and I have not seen him in a long time. I have not talked to him in a long time, but I am thrilled to see him and thrilled to see that he has not changed at all. He's every bit as sexy as he was when he was at the University of Miami. Leonard, it is lovely to see you. I was both disappointed and happy for you that you are finally finally getting out of the grind, and you, like Larrañaga, look radiant and fresh now that you're no longer having to coach basketball. I welcome you here, and thank you for being on the show with us.
I've never seen Larrañaga smile as well as he's smiling right now in my entire life. He actually looks happy. That's a genuine grin he has on his face. I wonder
You know
why.
it, Leonard. I'm not worried about who we play next.
Hey, Jim, I might be the worst person he ever could have invited to a selection show because, listen, I have tuned it all out.
You're fit right in around here. We don't know what we're talking about. But your decision to stop, Leonard. Can you tell? We just talked to Jim about his decision. What kind of wrestling match was that for you?
It was not a wrestling match at all. It was just time. It's this. I've been going at it for a long time, and I've enjoyed it. But I for me personally, and for my family, and for Florida State, I think it's time for me to move on and do some other things, and I think it's time for Florida State to have another voice.
What other things are we talking about? Like, what are you looking forward to?
Well, I want to do some ministry. There's no doubt about that. But I have some educational things I'm interested in doing. And, I have a gospel music label. I might do a little something on that, And I might even take voice lessons. Well, think about that.
Wait a minute. You're talking about making music and being a singer. You're talking about
No. Now, believe me, God blessed me with a lot of skills, but singing was not one of them. But I grew up in the church, and I love gospel music, and I wanna do some things maybe to help some other people. I'm not interested in making a living doing music. If I break even, I'm happy.
Which is it that you consider yourself first, FSU or Miami? Because it's
I'll tell you what, I have I will always share part of the Kane history. That was a great opportunity for me. I enjoyed every minute there. That was a fun time for me, and Florida State has meant an awful lot to me. So I might be a little bit of all of them. I might get me a shirt that has the Canes on one side and the Seminoles on the other.
Yeah. But which one, though, Coach? Like, you got to choose one.
Let me get through the transition period before you start asking all those difficult questions.
All right, but when you launch that label, we're asking again, Coach.
Yeah, if he makes that choice, he should choose Kentucky. Kentucky is what created his opportunity to be an assistant coach for Joe B. Hall, created his journey, right? Leonard, you signed Sam Bowie and Mel Turpin and those guys, and that got you started, helped get you the head coaching job at Oklahoma State and everything?
In reality, my first job was at Austin Peay when I was 23 years old. That's what got me started when I recruited Fly Williams and Danny Odoms out of New York. And I had never been in New York in my life. And Fly led the nation in scoring for part of the year. He averaged 27 and 10 as a freshman and scored 51 twice. Everybody thought I knew what I was doing. They don't know. I was just lucky.
Coach, do you eat after 7 p.m.? Because Coach L was saying he doesn't.
Yeah. Well, I try to. I mean, that's a great pattern to follow because that's what you call intermittent fasting.
The ice cream's calling.
I think it works. It's just that sometimes I don't get home until 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. So did I mean I couldn't eat till the next morning? I'm not with that. But I do believe that Coach L has taken care of himself, and I think he can go out and shoot a few hoops now. Look how slim and trim he is.
And happy. You're right. He's radiant. Are you as disgusted, Leonard, as he was with everything that has happened with the sport and NIL that makes it 2 days after his Final Four appearance, 8 of his players are coming in and entering the portal? When you say it's time, how much of it is because of how much all of that has changed?
Well, I do have some concerns, but Jim was just tough enough to say what everybody else was thinking, and I appreciate that, okay? And he laid it out the way it is, but my biggest concern is this. I'm sure those folks who were on the committee that have created this narrative that we're dealing with had a plan for us to deal with all these new changes. I'm sure there were psychologists in the room. I'm sure there was statistical analysis. I'm sure there was a lot of professional people that was well qualified in that room to make these decisions. They just didn't send us the memo of how we're supposed to deal with it. And the biggest challenge, Dan, is this. To be honest with you, close to 40% of the guys who put their name in the portal won't get scholarships. Okay, so now you're talking about, let's say if you got 3,000, let's say maybe it's 12, I don't know what my math might be, somewhere around maybe 1,200 times 5 years. So now you got 6,000 or 7,000 kids running around with not having an opportunity to further their education because they put their name in the portal, and 85 to 90% of those kids are Black who can ill afford to get their education. Nobody's talking about that. That's what I'm most disappointed in. We've created this scenario where kids can make bad decisions based on what? And no one's talking. It was a time not too long ago that teams could not even go to the NCAA tournament if they didn't graduate a high percentage of their players. Now nobody's talking about education. Nobody's talking about getting a degree. All we talking about is how much money someone's gonna make. And I'm all for kids making money. It's just that you can't make this big a change without giving us some idea of how we're supposed to deal with it. In other words, you can't just blow up the village and not have a plan on how you're gonna build it back.
Jim, you are grinning maniacally as this man speaks. Both of you pride yourselves on being educators. Leonard at the University of Miami is one of the great educators they've ever had. He really cared about the kids.
Well, it's not that I disagree with Leonard, but quite frankly, a lot of this stuff it was lawyers. You know, Ed O'Bannon's lawyer fought for this, and the NCAA fought against it. And the courts ruled in Ed O'Bannon's favor. So now you have basically an open market, a free market where kids can make as much money in NIL. At the same time, there was concern about limiting the freedom of movement for a student athlete. So they opened up the portal and said, hey, put your name in the portal, you can go anywhere. And now at the same time, you have two things happening at once that kids have to make huge decisions, and their parents are hiring agents to help them with it. Well, if you're an agent, what is your job? Your job is to make money for yourself. You're going to advise a young man to go jump in the portal. You can get more money someplace else. So if one school, let's say, for example, is offering a young man $500,000, it's a heck of a lot of money for a 20-year-old. But his agent says, I can get you $1.5 million at this other school. Well, that $500,000 doesn't look so good if I can get $1.5 million someplace else. So what's happening is it's an open market, and the highest bidder is often winning. And what Leonard said that is so true, then academics plays no role, because the schoolwork is not even discussed of, okay, I'm going to go to this new school. Can I get a degree? No, can I get the money? How much money can I get? And it's not healthy.
Coach,
but Dan, let me add on to this. You can't be the president of University of Miami on Monday and be the president of University of Florida on Tuesday. You can't play for the Clippers on Monday and the Lakers on Tuesday. You can't be at General Motors on one day and be at Chrysler the next day. You can't be the CEO of Wells Fargo and then the next day. But in college, you can play football and then the spring game with somebody else, somewhere else. In other words, in our society, when you sign agreements, they mean something. It's a commitment. And what I'm saying to you, I'm okay with kids getting money. Money is not the problem. The problem is organized some type of organization where there are some guidelines to something. Now, in our society, we all sign agreements and they mean something, and we stick to them, and there are obligations if you break them, but not in college athletics. You can just do what you want to. Now, I'm not saying I'm against freedom. I'm just saying to you, how can our whole society be organized and have commitments and contracts and agreements, and they mean something everywhere except in college sports?
Well, Dan and Leonard, you know, the whole key to this is it's professional basketball now. We have the perfect role model, the NBA. And we want to pay the kids. I'm happy for them to make some money, but let's organize it. Let's make it transparent. Let's be sure everybody knows what's going on. One of the experiences I had personally was we had a player who was considering us, and we were kind of bargaining with his agent, and he hit us with an exorbitant amount of money that he was asking for, and I was like, okay, do we really want this kid? Can we afford this kid? And then I found out 2 days later that he was totally exaggerating it, what other schools were offering. So if they want to create a professional basketball league, which is basically what we're doing, we're paying these kids, well, let's make it organized like the NBA does.
Coach, when a player comes up to you and they says they want more money, do you call Mike Ryan directly, or how does that work? Like, how do you get more money for the players?
Do I call who?
They want to know if Mike Ryan is somebody that you like or know. Mike Ryan, who's on our show, who is one of your biggest boosters.
It's at home, I think. One of those you know if you see him type guys, probably.
So is he a booster? Can I get some money from him for NIL?
You could.
So we're asking.
He's a golden cane, I think. I don't know if that means something, Coach.
I aired, by the way, with both of you, and forgive me for this, having watched your careers as I did closely. Both of you have been pillars of education and professionalism who have done the job well and have managed to avoid almost all controversy. And so I salute you on jobs well done. I erred in not celebrating a little more the fact that these have been magnificent careers. How long, Jim, have you been coaching? How long, Leonard, have you been coaching?
I started when I was 21 years old, and I coached for just over 53 years.
Leonard?
My first job was 1971 at Austin Peay State University, and I was 23 years old.
Yeah, so you guys have done it so well for so long. I appreciate you gracing us with your presence, and I appreciate all the work you did locally to make Florida things look better than they usually are. So thank you, gentlemen. Leonard, it really is good seeing you again. It has been too long.
I thought you forgot about me. My goodness.
All right, I want to sit down some more with you. I'll contact you after this. But gentlemen, thank you for spending this time with us. We're gonna break down for a second here, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Thank you, gentlemen.
I'm glad you guys didn't ask me anything about the selection, because I wouldn't have known anything.
You made that clear. That's why I decided not to do that. You made that clear at the start. Thank you, Leonard.
Thank you.
Paradise put up a parking lot and then stole my in-flight magazine. These staples of Americana predated even Greg Cody. Pan Am Airways published the first IFM in 1940. Now the high-flying mags are disappearing like donuts in a press box. Southwest Rag, augustly called simply The Magazine, is gone now. Delta Sky, gone. American Way, gone. Retired after 55 years. Alaska and Emirates Airlines, too, gone. Airline magazines falling from the sky one by one. Some others, like United Hemispheres, are now digital only. Blame the pandemic. COVID killed the in-flight magazine, or rather gave airlines an excuse to make a cutback like businesses did with remote meetings where the office buildings used to be. But more than that is to blame. The digital era stampeded the helpless handheld mag. In-flight entertainment and mobile browsing happened. Airlines have even claimed noble reasons for discontinuing their magazines, like how removing all of them makes planes lighter, which saves on fuel. Sounds like malarkey. Hurtling cabins once were full of rattling newspaper pages held wide. Then those disappeared, and then I was the last flyer still leafing through an in-flight magazine while everybody else was softly chuckling at a movie or listening to music with earbuds. I miss every bit of the airline magazine, the greeting from the airline president, the Penn and Teller at the Rio ad, the dating and hair restoration ads, and the one inviting me to invest in a home care franchise. Things to do in Minneapolis. The list of top 10 steakhouses and America's best plastic surgeons. The crossword puzzle, inevitably half-finished and poorly by a previous seat occupant. Oh, and the feature story on Southwest Customer Service Agent of the Month. You can't get that anywhere else. Most of all, I miss... Anybody else remember Sky Mall? Oh, my gosh. It was Amazon before Amazon, only at 30,000 feet. Talk about built-in marketing. Bored flyers stuck in a cabin for 3 hours slamming cocktails are liable to buy anything, which Sky Mall offered. I'll never forget the time, after 3 or 4 deep eddies, I accidentally bought a life-size Bigfoot garden gnome for $2,250. Airlines, I will gladly pay extra if the bag I check is a pound too heavy. I'll put up with your cancellations, and with a hot meal being replaced by a 1-ounce bag of pretzels. Just please, give me back my in-flight magazine. See, I never played that Sudoku puzzle, but I sure did like knowing it was there. I'm Greg Cody, and that's how it was back in my day.
The game has changed. Weed is legal now. With Stugotz and Greg Cody.
I'll tell a story if it makes you feel better.
Yeah.
When I first took, the first edible I ever took was in New York. And at the time, I was breaking the law. Okay? So now you can feel good about telling your story. And the guy told me, hey, just eat half of this. And so I ate half, and I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and I didn't feel anything. And he begged me just to eat half. And he did say on the front end it might take a while. But I was impatient.
Right.
Because when you smoke marijuana, you get instant gratification. And waiting an hour or two for something to kick in was not something I was familiar with.
Right.
So I ate another half, which became a full cookie. And 60 minutes later, I don't remember anything. I woke up the next morning on the floor in my wife's uncle's apartment because Abby had to throw me into a cab with her, and she took me home. And I was curled up in the fetal position, and I don't remember a thing after the second half of that cookie.
Wow.
This was last Wednesday. So, with that being said, feel free to share your story of you having 4 cookies in Colorado.
Yeah, I wolfed them down. It was 3 or 4. I didn't know
3
how.
or 4?
Yeah, I
You don't
wolfed them
ask?
down.
You don't
Well,
say, hey, person I'm purchasing this from, how fast should I do these?
The guy at the thing, and it was one of those official things where you're, they dress like pharmacists in there, and they sold me a vial of edible cookies, and it was in Colorado, so it's 100% legal. And my wife and I are getting ready to go to dinner. We popped open the thing. She had a nibble of one, and I ate, I think, probably 2 or 3. And it hit me by the time we got to that restaurant.
I just love how terrified you are of this conversation. You keep throwing in there like it's perfectly legal what I did.
To be fair to Greg, this has not exactly been, the most up and up thing to talk about for 60 years of his life.
Right, exactly.
This is a fairly recent phenomenon. We just go, oh yeah, everything's fine now.
No, and I don't, we did that because we were vacationing in Colorado, and I wanted to
Stop giving qualifiers.
I have to give a qualifier.
Greg, more qualifiers.
It feels better when you're doing it legally. It
right.
does.
I'm gonna. I don't smoke anymore. I mean, I don't do that. I did in college.
Lying, trying to make them feel better.
Thank you. Thanks for that.
Getting away with it was much more fun. Seriously.
I had my day doing that. So
we used to get dime bags at a place in Hillside, Queens. It was called the Tie Door. Oh, was it fantastic? You never saw the guy. You just saw his hand. You would see his
like
hand.
a first touch in a marriage?
Yeah, you would open up this little sliding door in Hillside, Queens. You would see his hand. He would see your hand. You'd never see each other. He'd put weed in your hand. You would put money in his hand, and that was it. That was a transaction. It was great. Called the Tie Door.
Weed first, then money?
Money first.
Oh, there
well,
you go.
It was like you would do it at the same time, but occasionally.
So you'd see both hands.
Yes, correct.
Once every 6 months, you'd hear stories of like some guy sticking his hand and then
getting arrested on the spot. The cuffs right on the wrist. That's all you see, the wrist, and then.
I always wondered, is today going to be the day? Because I went every day. And it wasn't far from my house. But is today the day that it's going to be a cop on the other side of that door? I did. I feared that every single day. But it didn't stop me from going out there every single day. Hop, skip, and a jump.
Is that fear worth it?
Yes. The fear is what made it. Greg's right. Now you walk in, they're dressed like they're experts, pharmacists.
Yeah.
It made me a little nervous. More nervous than meeting a guy at a tie door, never seeing him, just exchanging things in our hands.
That's right.
What happened to you after eating 3 or 4? Like, can you?
Back to you.
Yeah.
Oh, we went to a restaurant and, spent $300 on appetizers. And
hell yeah.
And I remember, I'm not a fast talker. If anything, I'm a slow, deliberate talker who says a lot of ums and ahs.
Right.
My wife at that restaurant accused me of speed talking, of talking faster than I ever had in my entire life, which I wasn't even conscious of. So yeah, it hit me very hard.
All right.
Enjoyable though. I have no idea what I ordered for my main course.
3 or 4 though, man.
Yeah.
Are you sure you didn't do cocaine?
No, they were edible.
I've never had
cookies.
someone really high and be like, "This, you shut up, dude."
I know. Believe me, that was new to me too. Because normally you're talking like a 1970s, rock DJ.
Or is it possible that life had slowed down so much for your wife that by
it seemed like you were
were
right.
talking normally, but to her you were talking at an incredibly fast rate of speed?
That's possible. That's a possibility.
Oh my God.
Did the waiter walk up and you're like, "I ate edibles," because you're just like terrified?
No. Believe me.
It's legal here. I'm on vacation.
Believe me, I'm sure he sensed it. Working in that state and seeing somebody in that state, I'm sure he sensed something.
How much was the bill that night?
Oh, gosh. I think we ordered a nice bottle of wine, which always jacks it up. So I think it was like a $400 bill.
You were hammered.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
4 cookies and a bottle of wine.
Oh, my gosh.
Probably like
Jesus
7
Christ.
Miller Lights.
Right. Exactly. And that was at the restaurant. But seriously, no, it was a nice time. I love.
Selection Sunday is brought to you by Evan Williams Bourbon, game day's #1 pour. Evan Williams Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, Bardstown, Kentucky, 43 to 45% alcohol by volume. Enjoy responsibly, 21 plus.
Our thanks to Evan Williams for supporting the ability to do these things. And now we're going to bang through some serious stuff to get you some real help. Peter Keating and Jordan Brenner, these guys are real experts. For more than 20 years, they've studied all the patterns. They've turned bracket picks into a science. And Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern on the DraftKings Network, they'll be hosting the Underdogs Bracket Breaker Special. But right now, all we need from them is their Cinderellas. All anyone wants to know is how to fill out these brackets. So let's start with you, Peter. Can you help us with what it is that we're doing right now? Do we have a top 5 list of Cinderellas that people should be following?
We got a top 5 list that turns out to be full of cool teams that survived their conference championships, and a couple of them have great matchups. I was wondering if you want to start with one that's kind of out on the outside looking in, because we have one that's really fun, even though it's not in our top 5.
Okay, yes, an OLI is fine. Before we get to your top 5, who's an OLI? This is not
all right. The definition of an OLI here is Wofford, the Wofford Terriers. They were sixth seeded in the Southern Conference. They had a dramatic win against Furman. The best teams from the conference didn't make it, but all these teams from the SoCon shoot a lot of threes, which brings excitement and a chance to increase the value of your possessions. But the main thing is they got this guy, Kyler Filwit. You may have seen him. He's this big guy who can't shoot free throws. He was so bad, 31% on free throws, that other teams were fouling him intentionally so that he would make those free throws and miss them. He was our underdog of the week on our show last week because he's been now shooting underhanded. They actually brought in Rick Barry, who shot 89% on free throws by shooting granny style, to consult with this guy. And he's done a little better. He's up to about 50% since he started throwing underhanded. He's not great, but this guy makes these games worth watching. All the 3-pointers give Watford a chance, even against a superior team. So they're kind of our ridiculous flyer OLI.
All right. Well, Sullivan, get to work on finding me Filwit. Get me Filwit. I want to talk to this guy. I want somebody who's a fan favorite, and a guy who shoots granny style is absolutely. Before the end of the show, find me this Filwit. Jordan, who is number 5? Number 5 sleeper. Are you guys doing this in order? Like sleeper, you're going to do this. You're going to respect the top 5, correct? Number 1 is going to be your number 1 sleeper, correct?
Number 1 is our number 1 sleeper, but we're trying to marry the data with some cool storylines. So this is a special top 5 for you, Dan. So number 5 is the McNeese Cowboys. They're playing Clemson in the first round. They're coached by Will Wade. He may have gotten into a little trouble at LSU, but he's got that VCU DNA. He was part of Shaka Smart's staff, the team that made the Final Four. They play a high-risk, high-reward style that we love. And if that's not good enough, they've got Amir Khan, the manager who's gone viral with his boombox.
This guy.
So they play a fun style. Our model thinks they're a real dangerous underdog, and they got a guy on the bench with a boombox. What more could you want?
Dan, I think this is too low for McNeese State, by the way. The vibes on the team are incredible. Their manager is incredible, singing songs and getting the people hyped. They're my number 1 team to look out for, my number 1 Cinderella team. Tony Brackett's, obviously. That'll be coming out later this week. What?
Stop interrupting them.
I'm not interrupting them. I'm just telling them that they're my number 1 vibes team right now.
Do you want to show them your free throw too?
Yeah.
Number 4, Peter.
Yeah, you want to see my jumper, guys?
Number 4.
This is great. We get people arguing about sleepers. Usually we have to beg people to pay attention to these teams. Number 4, the Troy Trojans. Dan, this is a deep underdog. You want just 11s and 12s on this list. And let me tell you something. If you're sitting around watching late at night, watching these small conference tournament championships, you may have seen them in a dramatic comeback against Arkansas State to clinch a spot in the tournament. They got a guy named Tatum Connerway. He is fantastic. He's got hesitation moves. He drives to the basket. He's the 2nd in the whole country in steal percentage. And these guys at Troy, they basically do what our model loves, and they don't do anything else. They play aggressive perimeter defense. They steal the ball. They are great in transition. They slow opponents down and disrupt them, and then they shoot a lot of threes. They're not really good at making threes, but they take this. They vary the chances. They vary the variability of their scoring. They take risks. They're a fun, deep underdog. And watch this guy Connerway. You will be impressed.
Jordan, number 3.
Utah State. Not in the first round, Dan, but if they get out of their 10-7 matchup, watch for them as a 10 seed against 2 seed Tennessee. This program somehow keeps chugging along, even though they change coaches every year. 3rd straight year with a new coach, 4th in 5 years. They keep landing bigger jobs, and the program just keeps winning. They got an awesome backcourt of Ian Martinez and Mason Falslev. Really good offensive rebounding team. Really good at forcing turnovers. Really dangerous come March.
Number 2, Peter.
Number 2, UC San Diego, not San Diego State, not the University of San Diego, UC San Diego, which until 4 years ago was a D2 school. Now, the NCAA makes you wait 4 years before you're eligible to play in the tournament. So what did they do? They went out and recruited a whole bunch of other D2 players. These guys, they've got guys from Azusa, from Lynn, which is not in Massachusetts. Lynn University is in Florida. From Hawaii Hilo, they got guys from all over D2 who are now working together and do a lot of great things. The massive turnover advantage. They get a ton of live ball turnovers while they protect the ball. They got the number 1 guy who's number 1 in steal percentage in the entire country, Hayden Gray. He's amazing to watch. And for size, they got Aniwa Tate Jones, a New Zealander who's a former rugby player who's a lot of fun to watch. And to top it all off, they get to play Michigan in the first round. Michigan ranking below 300th in turnover rate all year. They throw the ball away 1 out of every 5 times they touch it. Now they go against the best turnover team in the country. This is an upset waiting to happen. UC San Diego.
Jessica, you are scribbling furiously right now. You are taking down all of this information. You're filling out your bracket in real time, are you not?
If I pick all of these, will there be a good chance one of them wins and then I look smart, or should I just pick one? What's my best strategy?
You guys do this well, do you not? Like, what would be the best argument for how well you guys do this?
If you look at the money lines and you look at our picks, generally we're a little bit ahead of that. That's the best way to do it. It depends on your pool, though, right? If you're rewarding upset points, then pick a lot of upsets. If it's a generic pool where you don't get a lot of value for upsets, then you got to play the odds, right? But we're generally ahead of the field when it comes to upsets.
So the number one sleeper, and this is not just storyline, right? This is, you're saying that this is the team to watch as the number one sleeper.
We have been on this team for months, and that's Drake. They play Missouri, 11-6 game. They have an amazing chance to win. You like D2 stories, Peter? This team is all about D2. Coach Ben McCollum won 4 national titles at Northwest Missouri State, brought 3 of his key players from that team to Drake this year, and they went 30-3, including their best star, Bennett Starts. They bob and they weave and they play slow. In fact, they play the slowest tempo in the country and force the highest steal percentage in the country. That's about an odd a combination as if you were watching a baseball game and there was catcher's interference and a sacrificed fly on the same play. It doesn't happen, okay? So this team is incredibly high risk, high reward, but they play at a snail's pace. They are going to frustrate the heck out of Missouri. This team has Sweet 16 potential.
Should I pick all of these hoping that one of them hits and I look smarter? Is there one that we should really go after?
Drake. I mean, if you're going to make one pick in this one, Drake, I can tell you I've already bet the spread on the McNeese game at getting 7.5 against Clemson. I will definitely have Drake advancing in my bracket. I will definitely have UC San Diego. Sorry to my Michigan family, friends, all those people, but yeah.
But it does depend on your brackets. If your brackets just reward wins, you want to pick winners. But if you're betting, then yeah, bet a basket of good money line bets that are deep long shots here.
Were you guys being polite, or did neither one of you notice that he asked you exactly the same question Jessica did?
Well, we let Jessica take care of that. She said, "Good question."
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Very good.
Also, you asked a different question after my question, so they never answered my question, Dan.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern on the DraftKings Network. They'll be hosting the Underdogs Bracket Breakers special, and we appreciate your information. It's always good, gentlemen. Peter and Jordan, thank you for being on with us.
Thank you, Dan.
Did you guys already find Filwit? Are you telling me, is that the...
I'm being told that they're efforting to pull him up right now.
Okay.
Maybe it's a fake.
Okay, I don't think it's going to be a fake, but we have to fall in love.
Tournament. I'm hoping we can continue that going forward into the NCAA tournament.
So what do you think when you hear me say what I just told you about talking to Shaquille O'Neal and him just saying, I simply will not do it that way?
Yeah, I mean, to each their own. I just kind of thought, whatever works for me. I mean, I don't really care how it looks, just if it goes in and if it can help us win some games, which it's been able to do, and hopefully, if I continue to get better, it can do that going forward as well.
And Kyler's being polite. It's guys who do stuff without any fear of being embarrassed or trying something new that set new trends and improve their game and improve the game. If everybody threw underhanded, then free throw rates would go up around college and around the NBA. This takes guts to do. It's not to each his own. Shaq was a coward to do it. I love Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt Chamberlain did not do this, so he shot 50% on free throws for his entire career, which is ridiculous. So I want to salute.
Okay, where'd you come from? Because I had already said goodbye to you.
Why aren't you upside down either?
We're like a bad stench. We just stick around forever.
We came back to talk to Kyler. Come on.
It's March. We just haunt you.
Okay, just stick around then. That's fine. No, that's fine. I just thought that our production team would take them down. It's unusual to be surprised by voices on your show. But my father's done it. We just don't put people down. We just allow them to keep talking. Kyler, did I hear them correctly when they said Rick Barry went to work with you?
Yes, sir. Yes, he did. He was here on a Sunday. We worked together all Sunday afternoon and Sunday evening, him kind of teaching me the method, and then Monday morning as well. And then he was able to talk to the team and get out of here. So I was super, grateful, obviously, being able to work with, one of the top 50 players to ever play basketball, and someone, who shot underhand, but is one of the greatest free throw shooters ever as well. Him taking the time out to do that, it really means a lot to me, and I'm so thankful for that.
Now, your percentage has gone up how much, though, Kyler? Because I don't trust Chris Cody, who said to me that you went from shooting 30% to shooting 35%.
I think it's around there. I haven't really looked at the numbers too much, but it's definitely been better. I I was higher earlier in the season, and then what made the change really was not just because it was low, but I was on a really bad streak of, in the middle of conference play. So, the first couple of games after that, I was able to shoot a couple of games in the 60s. Then I kind of went cold again, but I'm starting to feel really more confident. I was able to knock some big conference championship games. So, I'm feeling good about it and ready to bring it out there on Thursday.
It's lonely, right? You had gone 0 for what before you decided to change things up? You went through a streak of like you'd missed a bunch, right?
Yeah. The game before I went 0 for 8, and in a game we definitely should have won, and I had a good game other than that, but that's really, I felt like that was something that really hurt our team, obviously. So that's when the coaches came to me, said, "We think you should try this," and I thought, why not? I mean, I didn't want to have that feeling again.
I want to play for Kyler our famous Rick Barry moment, because Rick Barry got into a big argument with Stugotz, and I just want to play it.
Oh, yeah?
I just want to play it for Kyler.
Rick, come on! I could put.
Did he win a championship without Scottie Pippen?
No, he did not. But I could put
well,
70
then
Pippins with him.
So go to another one.
But I could put 70
Go
Scottie.
to another one.
I could put 70 Pippins with him, and he wins 6 championships.
Wait a second. That's not the point. The point is you're trying to change the parameters. You made a blanket statement that Kobe Bryant has never won it. He's never been the main reason that his team won a championship. And here's the deal.
Rick,
was it only Michael Jordan? If he never won without Scottie Pippen.
Right.
Name another player.
And how many did Pippen win without him?
Name another player.
Rick, how many did Pippen win without him?
How many did Shaq win without Kobe? One, because he had Dwayne Wade.
Okay.
Okay, who did Pippen have? Nobody. So go on. Name me another one.
But Rick, the question was, do you
name another one?
The question was, Rick Barry, do you think Kobe wants to win one and be the main reason? That was the question.
And I said yes, I think he does. And I already said that.
And because
I'm asking you to give me another person. You are not answering the question. You haven't come up with anybody.
And because you like Kobe so much, you heard it the way you want to hear it.
Listen,
you heard it the way you want to hear it.
You stuck your foot in it. You opened your mouth and stuck your foot in it. Give me another player who was a great player, who was the main responsibility
Rick, it doesn't matter.
Winning a championship without help from somebody else.
Hakeem Olajuwon. It doesn't matter who I give you. You're going to throw someone back in my face. Hakeem Olajuwon. Go, Rick.
Hakeem Olajuwon I would go for.
Who are you going to get? Oh, you're going to go for that. So I got you. Okay, Mr. Credibility. Thank you.
Stugotz's dad yelled at him, and then Stugotz called Rick Barry to apologize. Peter Keating, your thoughts?
I like the Hakeem Olajuwon example, but I think Rick Barry had the better of that argument.
Kyler, you didn't see that side of Rick Barry, right? Rick Barry is somebody who's very opinionated.
Kyler's like 22, and this has been the oldest show ever, Dan.
No, I definitely got a sense for his passion, that's for sure. But yeah, nothing quite like that.
Kyler, can I give Kyler a shout out on behalf of all underdogs, by the way? The dude's not just famous for shooting free throws underhand. He's averaging almost a double-double, 12 and 9.5. So
almost.
Salute from the Underdog podcast to a team that can pull off a big upset.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Kyler, how do Kylers feel about Kyles?
I get the Kyle a lot, so
we don't like him, right?
Yeah, no, not really.
Stugotz Day. Got him.
I'm just playing.
Why are we getting this poor kid in trouble?
I wanted to say something about Rick Barry, but I won't because he's a personal friend, obviously.
Kyler, do you eat after 7 p.m.? We were talking to Coach Larrañaga earlier, and he stops eating before 7 p.m.
I actually went through a phase once for like a month. I didn't eat after 8, but I'm back eating after 8 now.
Hell yeah, dude.
Larrañaga told me on his way out, he said that the 10 Reese's peanut butter cups that he had for lunch, that it wasn't 2 back then to a packet. It was only 1 to a packet, and it cost it cost a nickel. So he would buy 10 of them for 50 cents.
And hold off.
It wasn't old off.
It was.
Kyler, so you head into the tournament, and a lot of people obviously are talking to you about this one thing. You don't care, right? As long as you can make anything some small percentage better, winning in the small spaces requires whatever it requires.
Exactly. Yeah, that's how I felt about it the whole way. Obviously it's getting a lot of attention and whatnot, but that was never my intent, was to blow up because I'm shooting underhand free throws. I just wanted to help the team and do what I can.
Kyler, thank you for being on with us. We do appreciate it.
Really appreciate
your,
it.
your
Good luck in
the
time.
tournament.
Thank
Go
you.
get it,
Yes, you are our
Sure.
guy. You are our Cinderella. I don't know if Peter Keating and Jordan Brenner plan on sticking around
No,
for,
let
the,
them stay, let them
for
stay.
the Holly Rowe interview, but they're welcome to stay. My father is in the other room as well if he wants to be a disembodied voice.
Wait, I have a Kyler question. Kyler, before you go, can Rick Barry still make it? Granny shot?
Yes, sir. He still can. Still does it.
Let me say respect to him, but he loves it when people miss free throws. He loves it. Like anytime somebody's shooting sub 50%, Rick Barry wants to fly over there and teach him the grain. He's like, give me a break, Rick Barry, please.
How many?
Respectfully,
did he,
though,
how many?
Kyler,
How many did he make in a row while you were with him? Did he just sit there and just drain them?
No, he didn't do too many, but he went up there to, he showed me the technique. I gave it a try. Then he went up and probably knocked out just 5 in a row just to show me what he can do. So, and then went back to teaching.
Does Rick teach like a pre-shot mantra, like a little like "I will make it" or something? Like what's he saying before he shoots it?
Not really. More just like a deep breath more than anything else. But yeah.
Thank you for being on with us, Kyler.
Thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
We have to go to Holly, at least in part, because she's got her own show and she's got to hurry up and do her own show. They've got wall-to-wall surrounding coverage on the women's tournament on ESPN, and we have now scooped ESPN. I don't know.
I was just confirming what you said. That's right,
I don't know why it is that you keep disorienting the people. Like Jordan and Peter and Kyler,
they're co-hosting the show now, Dan.
You're confusing them by playing that sound again and again. Holly, thank you for being on with us. I know that you're very busy, and I know that a lot of people are talking about Juju Watkins. So as you join us now, what are the things you're looking for as the tournament gets unveiled here on ESPN in a few minutes? And thank you so much for making time for us during a busy time. I know you're very busy.
Yeah, I'm here in the studio. We're just getting ready. We've got all the teams on dial, and we've got the ladies here in the studio. So this is going to be exciting. We're going to reveal the bracket at the top of the hour.
Just give us one sneak peek, Holly. You know what the teams are. Give us a number 7. Give us a 7.
I literally was looking behind me like, Holly, don't accidentally reveal the bracket. But the ladies are here.
Don't do that.
I do not want to get fired tonight.
Just don't say anything. Just maybe move a little closer to the big board over there. Yeah.
Billy, don't get her fired. Like she does. She's been a legend for going on 3 decades.
That's why she can get away with
ESPN.
it.
Yeah. There are some surprise. I will tell you, I've seen the bracket. There are some surprises. So buckle up.
Like what?
Oh, wait a minute. There are some surprises coming up. Who is the biggest challenge to South Carolina?
Ooh, I think the biggest challenge to South Carolina, I am going to say, man, it's a toss-up for me. Either UCLA, because their team that beat them earlier in the season handily, they've got the 6'7" center Lauren Betts. That's a matchup problem for everybody. And then I would also say UConn. UConn beat them by 29 earlier this month. And so I think those two teams can make some noise, particularly against South Carolina.
You think that UConn challenge is going to be like in the regional play or maybe in the semis, or going to have to wait till the championship? Any idea there?
Kate, see, again, trying to get me fired because I actually know. And so I cannot reveal that. I'm just going to say it's possible they could meet. How about that?
Confirming. Okay. Yes, she actually knows, and that is something that she's embargoing. She cannot. We have her first, but we can't get any information first. That's
I know.
secret.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
I feel like I'm in the studio though. This is a great exclusive.
Well, we're right there with her. Yes, you don't have at this point. You don't have anything in the way of nerves before these things, right? You've got this.
No, I do. I feel like a kid on Christmas. Because there's so many teams who are watching right now, and we have cameras all around the country. 68 teams. There's a lot of kids. There's a lot of teams who are getting in the tournament for the very first time. A lot of coaches who will be in for the first time. And so I think it's like, I get nervous too, because lives are changing. This will be a life-changing moment for a lot of people. And I think that's really exciting.
So there's a lot of, people wondering if the Ivy League is going to get 3 teams in this year. So is that something that you can confirm?
I think the Ivy League has a really terrific shot. And here's why. Their champion Harvard. I'm a huge Carrie Moore fan. And if you've been watching, you obviously know Harmony Turner. She's fifth in the nation in scoring, 22 points per game. I think Harvard is kind of the cream of that crop right now, but the Ivy League has a really good case. We've seen teams in the past do very well. Caitlin Chen, who's actually playing for UConn this season, was with the Ivy League team last year. I covered her games in Iowa. So I think the Ivy has a really good case this year.
Do you have a sleeper for us? Do you have something that would impress Peter and Jordan, who are still hanging around? Do you have a
Yes,
sleeper?
I do. I do have a sleeper for you, and it's TCU. 2 years ago, TCU went 2-19. And now they're here, and they have an opportunity to make a lot of noise. They've got some impactful transfers. Sedona Prince, Haley Van Lith, who has played. I need to remind people, Haley Van Lith took Louisville to the Final Four. And then last year she was in the Elite Eight with LSU. And now she is the Big 12 Player of the Year for TCU. So if I was picking a bracket, I would look at TCU as somebody to take a long way. They're a matchup nightmare.
Jordan, you were smiling throughout that. You love that pick.
Wasn't TCU the one who had open tryouts 2 years ago when they couldn't field the team?
Yeah.
Ultimate underdogs.
They had walk-ons from other sports teams because they had so many injuries and illnesses.
Yeah, that's the same team. 2 years removed, and they could be a Cinderella pick. So
we are with you.
Yeah. So hey, thank you for having me. But I am getting a wrap up.
See you.
They're coming
Yes,
to
go
live
ahead,
right
Holly.
now.
Go ahead. Go
Notre
ahead.
Dame's at 2.
Thank you, Holly. Thank you for
Have me
your
anytime.
time.
We
I see the board.
Women's hoops.
Thank you, Holly. Good talking to you, Billy. Working his hardest in order to try and get more people in trouble while they're at ESPN.
Dan, Jordan and I never say, thanks for having us, we have to go. We never say that.
I'm super confused as to why you guys are still here.
I like them.
I
do
do
you guys
too.
want to come back tomorrow? We start at
them.
like 9
They know everything,
Eastern.
Dan.
Yeah, I like
Have
having
you ever
them, too.
invited a guest over and they just don't leave and you're having drinks and it's like 11 p.m.?
Yes,
That's
we're
us.
going to start brushing our teeth soon
Yeah,
to
come out
give
in
you
your
the memo
boxers.
that we need you to go. But you should stay.
Thank you, guys. I'm going to let them go now. I appreciate your time, and we appreciate your information as well. We are going to go here because I've also reached out to Jay Billis, who I was hoping, speaking of getting in trouble at ESPN, Billy, I was asking Jay Billis to call us during a commercial break and then just put on his lap the FaceTime so that we can watch him doing the analysis on ESPN from a bad angle. But he didn't call between 6 and 8, so my guess is he'll be calling here in a little bit. No thoughts on that?
No, I didn't
He's
know
just
we
on
were
the TV
talking,
right
so
now.
I
Yeah,
don't know what
it's
we were
tough,
doing
yeah.
there. Hey, Dan, if you want, in the meantime, I don't know if we're queued up for this. I don't know where we're going next, but we can tease our March Sadness tournament if you want. Wow. Yeah, we have a couple. We have our teams all ranked, and if you were selected, I have good news for you. You're going to be getting an email tomorrow letting you know that you're in. So we're not going to tell you exactly where you are, but we have some of the selections if you'd like a preview into kind of how this went. So for those of you who were not following along or who missed kind of what we were doing this year is we were trying to get the fans to send in videos to tell us why they should watch the championship game with Dan. And then there was kind of like a miscommunication, and that became why you're the show's #1 fan. And then our fans, what they did, because they're our fans, decided, you know what we're going to do with this prompt? We're going to just do whatever the hell we want. And we're just going to send in a bunch of videos where we answer the questions or we don't answer the questions. So, Dan, if you would like, we have a fan submission here. And this is one of the – I'm not going to tell you where this was.
What if I would not like? Because I don't think not liking is something that's taken into account with anything you do.
What do you mean? I don't understand that.
Call Jordan back if you want.
Yeah, exactly. Get Jordan back on the phone, talk about, whatever. So would you like to see one of our fan submissions from the East region here?
Sure.
All right.
Hey, so I'm probably one of the biggest LeBatard fans, but what other LeBatard fan would have a statue of Jose Marti that was gifted to Celia Cruz? My mother gave this to me because she was Celia's live-in nurse. But yeah, one of the biggest LeBatard fans. I live in Michigan. My name is Ernesto. Tito, if you know me.
Okay, so no one's following the rules
That's
here.
Tico.
And you guys,
he told us why. Yeah, why? Is because he has a Jose Marti statue.
Yeah.
That
Celia Cruz you don't like that video?
That was Celia Cruz's because his mother was Celia Cruz's live-in nurse. So
it's like a Final Four team to me.
If I don't,
it's up to fan voting. So.
If I don't know him, can I call him Tito?
You want to hit another one here real quick before we move on to the next
I
thing,
think
or no?
we need to see more.
Okay, one more here.
Why do I deserve the crown for this year's March Sadness? Well, if I've learned anything watching the show, it's always side with Greg Cody. So I spent a lot of money on Cameo for this endorsement. I hope you like it. Who needs me? It's the manager of the Lobos. Just want to support this guy because he gave me money through Cameo. And I do want to say in all seriousness, back in my day, we used to take our Alex.
It's Dan, Stu, and Greg Cody.
It was my dad in the Speedo, the LSU Speedo.
The Greg cameo. Yeah.
That's got to be a one seed.
That's the greatest thing I've ever seen.
He was in front of the Coconut Grove Flannies, Dan.
What else do you have?
You want
here?
another one?
Well, have you ranked them?
Yeah, they're ranked. They're ranked, but that's going to be revealed. We're going to send the emails out, let everybody know who made the tournament. They've made it, and they're getting their prompts for the next question coming soon. So again, some of them answered the question, some of them just did whatever they wanted.
It doesn't seem
let's
like,
do one more.
Wait a minute, there was no answer
watch
of
that
the
one
question
again.
there. There was
Can we watch that one again?
Yeah, let's do that one again. Go back to the other guy. Yeah, let's do this. Hit it.
Why do I deserve the crown for this year's March Sadness? Well, if I've learned anything watching the show, it's always side with Greg Cody. So I spent a lot of money on Cameo for this endorsement. I hope you like it. Who needs me? It's the manager of the Lobos. Just want to support this guy because he gave me money through Cameo. And I do want to say in all seriousness, back in my day, we used to take our Alex.
It's Dan, Stu, and Greg Cody.
That has to be a one seed. There's not. We're not.
Well,
I'm
not going to tell you what it was or wasn't yet.
I don't think.
I'm like Holly Rowe. I can't tell you
I'm
yet.
positive
I know,
that's
but I
a
can't
one
tell you.
seed. I'm positive that's a one seed.
Let's see another one. Let's see. Play this one.
Why should I win the March Sadness tournament? Because you're looking at the official drum major of the marching band to nowhere. Because it's the LeBatard Show. You know I want to go to blow with Mike Bryan in Miami. So Katz is on the pot. Chris Cody's looking doughy. And Billy the Evil Cat, who the hell is Tony? It's the LeBatard Show. You know I want to go to blow with Mike Bryan in Miami. And you know it, yeah.
I can't wait for this.
If you guys had to bet and be right, do you think that Larrañaga knows who Mike Ryan is? Because it wasn't clear in that back and forth.
It was very clear.
You could. Well, no, I think it's one of those things. Larrañaga knows a ton of people by just looking at him. That's why he was like, "Where's Mike? I want to see him." Oh, hey, I've seen you before. It was one of those things. I think if he saw Mike,
You think if Mike was here, he would have said a good to see you. When they
I think he
shook
would have been
hands?
like, "Oh, what's up,
Coach,
buddy?
what's
I know
up,
you."
Coach?
Like,
I'm going to get the ire on that one, but that wasn't my idea.
I mean, you asked.
Yeah, well, because other people didn't want to.
Okay.
I
Not
would have
gonna
done
point
it, but
any fingers.
you said you would, so.
You want to hear another one? You want to see another fan
Sure.
submission?
Hey Dan, Mark from Michigan. I wasn't going to enter this contest, but after today, I need to win this thing. I was the only one who fell asleep today at nap time. My 1-year-old and 4-year-old had their way with me. I'm a stay-at-home dad, but I also own a business with 20 employees. I am surrounded by chaos, insubordination, and anarchy at all times. This Michigan winter is long, and I need a break.
I feel that one.
Yeah. It's a playing game.
Tony!
Yeah, dude.
You've learned the life here over the last 3 months of
Yeah, I
no
hear that-
sleep,
yeah, I hear
Captain
that
No
noise.
Sleep, right?
It's like, oh.
Chris, you were consulting with artificial intelligence in order to get more information to fill out your bracket. What are you doing with that? What kind of progress are you making as your artificial intelligence? I don't view you as a ChatGPT guy.
Thank you, Dan. I am working hard here to speak for the future, and the future's arrived. So we wanted to get ChatGPT's Final Four prediction. Are you ready for it?
That is a bit terrifying.
What is? Who needs me? Anyways, the Final Four predictions here. Mostly chalk and one upset here. They're going with Florida as a 1 seed. They are going... What's up that? Fuentes, stop talking to me in my head.
In the future?
What? The 4 teams in the Final Four, according to ChatGPT. 3 1 seeds. Auburn, Duke, and Florida. And then they go Gonzaga, 8 seed. They zagged. ChatGPT zagged while others zig. They have Gonzaga reaching the Final Four, an 8 seed, getting past Houston. That'll be all now from ChatGPT. Good night, everyone.
What was Fuentes saying? How did Fuentes...
I have no clue what he was saying, but it was very distracting.
Why?
Where's Lewis when I've never said that before, but where the hell's Lewis?
Why would Fuentes be talking to you in the middle of you trying to do the robot voice?
And I was cooking, too. Anyway.
Have you found...
I love cheese, too, Coach L.
Have you found the sound of me in the middle of Larrañaga and Leonard Hamilton trying to speak clearly and stumbling through 5 seconds of inability to speak? Because it's got to be funny to rehear that. I'm still feeling the dampness in the sweat that formed under my shirt from...
It was an all-timer. We're still searching for that. But we should have that shortly. Jay Billis is joining us right now. Hey, Jay, how's it going? Jay, you're muted. Hello, Jay. Spaceship to Jay.
Jay, we cannot hear you. You are muted. We can't hear you, but at any moment...
I am much better muted.
Ah, there he is.
Jay, thank you for making the time in the studio, joining us. And what are your observations coming fresh off the set here? Who's got a right to be upset? Anybody got a right to be upset?
Yeah, West Virginia, maybe. Some of the teams that were on the bubble. I was a little surprised that North Carolina made the field, honestly, being 1-12 in quad one games against, basically against the field. They only beat UCLA of the tournament teams that they played. But, look, at the end of the line, we're talking about teams that aren't great anyway. They may be good, but they're not great. But like the 4 number 1 seeds, they're pretty powerful. And honestly, Dan, I haven't seen a team better than Florida the way they're playing right now. Over the last 3 weeks of the season, you could make an argument that Auburn's the best team, or Duke's the best team, or Houston. But I haven't seen anybody better than Florida. They're playing the best right now.
How do you separate your objectivity from your Duke bias when you enjoy saying North Carolina should not be in this tournament?
I don't have any Duke bias. I mean, I went to school there so long ago. I don't know that all the pictures that were taken of me when I was a player are in black and white, and they look like they were taken by Matthew Brady right after he finished with a shot of Lincoln.
I think, though, that the hatred for North Carolina doesn't die no matter how old you are.
No, honestly, though, I've never hated. I've always had a great respect and admiration for North Carolina. I just, I think they're good. But traditionally, a team that's 1-12 against the top teams doesn't make it. And the one good thing about this whole end of the line thing is that Texas, all the bracketologists around the country thought that Texas wasn't going to be in the field. And heck, Texas won a ton of games against quality competition. They just had a bunch of losses because they were in the SEC. So I was pleased to see them make it if Xavier and Carolina were going to be in.
I think that they were 6-12 in the SEC, but you're here to say the SEC is how strong a conference, and how much is the difference between previous years between how strong they are as a conference and the second best conference?
Oh, it's not close. Look, I think this is the best conference top to bottom against the field that there's ever been in college basketball, and 14 teams made it in. And I think rightfully so. The last time a team performed at this level, non-conference and conference, was probably the ACC in the mid-'80s when you look at non-conference strength. But that was only 8 teams. It's a lot harder to have 16 really good teams. Like South Carolina beat Clemson earlier this year. They were 10-3 going into conference play and finished last in the league. They may be the best last place team I've seen in college basketball. That's how strong the league was. So, but that doesn't mean that Duke's not going to win the national championship or Houston won't win it, something like that. That could certainly happen. But we got a bunch of teams that are in this tournament that are compromised with injuries. Iowa State isn't going to have Keyshawn Gilbert. Kentucky's compromised. They lost Jackson Robinson for the year. And then Lamont Butler's been injured, so he's not going to be 100%. Alabama has an injury with Grant Nelson not being 100%. So we've got some of the better teams are compromised a little bit, and that probably means the 1 seeds are going to have an easier opportunity. But with the 2s, I think that Michigan State got a great draw. I can see them reaching an Elite Eight, maybe a Final Four, and then I think St. John's got a really good draw, with the exception of being in the same region as Florida.
Hey Jay, AI here. What do you think about the Zags' chances in the second round versus Houston? We like them making the Final Four potentially.
I don't have that. They've made 9 straight Sweet 16s, but this is not the best draw they've ever received. The team that Gonzaga had trouble with this year was St. Mary's, a big, strong team that could offensive rebound and slow the tempo, and that's Houston. And Houston's better offensively than St. Mary's is because their guards can really shoot it. L.J. Cryer, Emmanuel Sharp, Milos Uzan. Like, those guys are all shooting 40% from 3, so they're way better offensively than they've been in past years. They're the same kind of defense and rebounding team that they've been with their offensive rebounding. Juwan Roberts didn't play in the Big 12 tournament. He had his foot in a boot, so hopefully he'll be back for Houston's sake. But I think they would have been in the Final Four last year if Jamal Shead not got injured against Duke. But I would certainly favor them against Gonzaga. But Gonzaga's got such a great track record; it's hard to bet against them.
Who has a path as a number 1 seed that you're like, ooh, that's a tough path?
Well, I think Auburn's got a tough path. They lost 3 of their last 4, but it's one of those things of look who they played. I think Duke's probably got the easiest. There's no easy road to the Final Four, but if you could pick one path, I would have picked Duke's. I think they got a very good draw. And I really like Michigan State's draw at the bottom of that the region, the South region that Auburn's in, and the fact that Iowa State doesn't have Keyshawn Gilbert, that he's going to be out. I think it makes it a little bit easier for Michigan State to get through. Michigan State has not been a great shooting team this year, which is a little bit surprising. But as a consequence of maybe not hitting shots throughout the course of the year, they're getting the free throw line more than they have in the past 10. And I think that bodes pretty well for them. They got really good depth. Their big guys are good, and they got a freshman, Jace Richardson, who is the real deal. I mean, they're very, very good. A little surprised they got beat by Wisconsin, but I wouldn't be surprised. I think they're a second weekend team for sure, and would not be surprised to see them in San Antonio. Without knowing what the doctors are saying, would you be someone who held Cooper Flagg back in the first game? No, Dan, it's really funny. I don't get all this, hold Cooper Flagg out stuff. He sprained his ankle. He wasn't like run over in a stampede of wildebeest or something. Like, that happens in basketball. It's not a big deal. So I think it was smart of them not to play him in the ACC tournament because they could win without him. But I don't think you hold him out of the NCAA tournament. And plus, he's got a week or so to get treatment and all that stuff. They do electronic stim and massage and cold tubs and all that stuff. The technology now, he'll be fine. I'm not worried about it. For crying out loud, you thought he got hit by a car. He had a sprained ankle. It was the wheelchair photo. Yeah. But I used to do that when I got taken out of the game for any reason, just to make myself look better. But I thought that was actually a good visual. When's the last time you've been in a cold tub? I hate cold tubs. I've never done a cold tub. They didn't do that back in the day. I put my ankle in one if I had a sprained ankle, but the guys who do this cryogenic stuff, I've heard a lot about it, but I'm too wimpy. I grew up in Los Angeles. To me, a cold tub is a 60 degree day with a drink in my hand. Same. The vampire is back. The vampire cannot be killed. The vampire has his 6th team in the tournament. This is crazy, Jay. It's crazy. What does your Mount Rushmore of coaches look like? Well, John Wooden would be on it. Dean Smith, Bob Knight, and probably Coach K would be up there. The ones who won all. But then you'd have to go, wait a minute, Jim Calhoun and all these different coaches. Pitino would be right there. He's won a couple national championships, one at Kentucky, one at Louisville. But with his vampire status, I'm looking forward to how he's going to do in the 2046 tournament.
I mean, it is crazy though, Jay. Like I really thought, I don't know if you thought this because that FBI investigation ended up, being a total sham. But I just didn't think that the way it ended last time with Patino, that we would see him at a big school again in the tournament. I thought it was over.
Honestly, I did too. And I thought when he said, Iona is going to be his last job, I thought that was probably right. But something seems to make great sense about St. John's with him. And, Dan, I mean, you tend to discount it when you're going through it. And we're right in the middle of all the controversy that he went through multiple times. But winning is the ultimate cleanser. And look, he is one of the greatest teachers, strategists, tacticians, and he's one of the greatest salesmen that have ever been in this game. And so maybe I shouldn't be surprised, but I am a little bit. I mean, if you told me 5 years ago that we were going to be at this point, I don't think I would have believed it.
My father is in the other room hanging on every single word that you say. Poppy, do you want to say anything to Jay here? Do you want to ask a question? You seem really happy to see Jay.
Oh, yes, I'm always happy to see Jay. How you doing, Jay?
I'm doing great, Poppy. How you doing?
Oh, I'm fine. I'm hanging in there. How's everything with you? The family okay?
My family's fine. They don't talk to me anymore, but I hear they're fine.
What do you mean? What do you mean they don't talk to you? They got to talk to you.
Well, I mean, my kids talk to me when they need money. They're kind enough to call when they need money.
Well, Dan used to be the same way.
All right. That's
he only
enough
talked
out
to
of
me
you.
when he needed money.
All right. That's enough.
Classic.
Good seeing you, Jay. Thank you for making the time for us. I know you're very busy, and it's always good seeing you, sir.
Always good, my brother. Thanks for having me.
Take care, Jay. Take care.
This is going to become a character on the show, isn't it? I wasn't expecting the artificial intelligence to stumble trying to say something.
We're working on it.
Poppy, you were very very quiet over the last 40 minutes or so.
I'm very disappointed. All these experts, they come in and they didn't select my Cinderella team.
Who's your Cinderella?
Oh, the Lobos, the New Mexican Lobos. They got this guy, Pepe Hernandez. He's the hell of a center.
Poppy, I think you're making up that there's not a Pepe. There's not a Pepe.
What do you mean?
There's not a Pepe Hernandez. Dad.
Oh, yes. Yeah. You check the roster. Put the roster on the board there. You see a Pepe Hernandez. He's a hell of a player.
You're making that up, Poppy. There is no Pepe Hernandez.
No, he's right.
There you are.
He's not right, Dad. Dad, that's Billy supporting you, and Billy doesn't know what he's talking about.
Oh, yeah. Billy's right down there. He's hanging in there tough. He found Pepe Hernandez.
All right, get out of here, Poppy. We'll talk to you in a little bit. I want to go to Haley Jones now. She won a national title in 2021 with Stanford. She's a star for the Atlanta Dream. You can check out her show, Sometimes I Hoop, on YouTube and wherever it is you get your podcasts. Jessica, I'm sorry. I don't know if Kornhacki is out there with the women's tournament. What is being?
Of course he's not.
What is being announced out there?
Not an ally. UCLA is the overall #1 seed, and South Carolina is right behind them with the other 1 seed in the regional 2, the Birmingham side. Only half the bracket's been revealed so far, Dan. So I'm still crunching away right here, but interesting path if you're LSU. I think you got to feel a little bit good about being the 3 with NC State and UCLA in the first little section that they revealed. But so far, not too many surprises. I guess I'm surprised North Carolina and Duke are 3 and 2 on the same bracket. I don't think you're supposed to do. They're in the same conference. I don't think you're supposed to do that. I don't know. Haley, please, is there anything that surprised you? Please help me out right now. I'm listening to Jay Billis talk, and I'm trying to write down team names, and it's a lot for me to juggle.
No, for sure. I'm with you. I mean, I love that UCLA is currently the #1 overall seed. My girl Lauren Betts, who is in Stanford with me, is on that team, and she's a beast. But I do think that having North Carolina and Duke is really interesting on the same bracket, especially in the same regional. I think that's really awkward. I feel like that doesn't usually happen, or if they were, they wouldn't be 2-3 seeded like that. But I think LSU, if they're on the same side as NC State and UCLA, that's going to be a problem for them because both those teams are really peaking at the right time. So they're going to need to lock in, and they need Anissa Morrow to be completely healthy to make a run on that corner of the bracket.
Yeah, I think there was some concern that maybe like with health issues, LSU would drop down a peg, but it seems like the resume sort of speaks for itself. And so the committee's like, you know what, you go right in there. What are you sort of most excited about from this year? I know like the last couple seasons in women's basketball, we've talked a lot about how the portal and like the, resources and investment have created some more parity in the bracket. And we've seen some more upsets in earlier rounds. Is that something that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I think you see it more often on the men's side where you see these crazy upsets where it's like a 215 or a 314, whatever it is, or that crazy Virginia upset not too long ago. And on the women's side, it's really only happened one time. So I think, like you said, with the parity across women's basketball right now, you've seen upsets throughout the season, conference tournaments, within regular season play, even in preseason. So I think that there's going to be a lot of sleeper teams that are just going to peak at the right time because that's really what it's all about. It doesn't matter what happened in your conference season, but if you're hot in the tournament, you can go as far as you want to go.
Do you root for or against Mulkey?
I don't know. I never root for any other team besides my alma mater, really. I root for players, but it's hard not to root for Kim. I love the outfits. I think she's a character, and her team seems to love her, and they play hard for her. So I think that they're always a really entertaining team to watch, and Kim herself is entertaining to watch on the sideline.
I love Mulkey.
Yeah.
South Carolina, you obviously have been watching their overwhelming run over the last 3 years. You believe the greatest challenger to them matchup-wise, just as a matchup for what they do is what?
Oh, that's tough. I mean, you mentioned their greatness. I think what's really interesting about them is that their bench outscores their starters night in and night out, really. So I think a team that could be interesting for them, I would love to watch them and the two USCs match up, really. Southern California and South Carolina. South Carolina is known for their defense and being physical and pressuring teams. And so to see that against somebody like Juju Watkins, against a Kiki Iriafen, that would be really entertaining to just see like this offensive powerhouse against these defensive menaces. So I would love to see those two match up.
How do you feel about eating after 7 p.m.? Our guests tonight have been pretty split on this topic.
Eating after 7 p.m.? I mean, I'm more of a 7:30 dinner type of girl, so I don't think it's that crazy. I feel like if you eat before 7 p.m., that sounds like when my grandma eats dinner around like 4 p.m.
Exactly.
So I feel like people shouldn't be doing that unless they're in that age group.
Haley, respectfully, does Rick Barry love it when people miss free throws?
I want to say yes.
Thank
I feel
you.
like he's
Yeah.
really
You are
a hater.
correct.
Yeah.
I have another bracket question for you to
Shoot.
bring it back to basketball that we care about. Is there a team that you maybe changed your mind about drastically, whether it was a team that coming into the season you're like, this team's going to be great, or a team coming into the season that you're like, I don't know about this team, and then midway through the season you flipped and now you're like, ooh, this team could make a really deep run. I could see this team making the Final Four.
Yeah, I think for me, it's NC State. Like they were kind of up and down for me. At the beginning of the year, they were great. They were ranked in the top 10. And then at one point in the season, they dropped out of the top 25. So I was like really high on them. And then I was like, oh my God, what's going on? Why are we horrible? But then they have this great talent. They have these two superstar guards, which are kind of coming together. And then they won the ACC regular season with Notre Dame. So I feel like if they're consistent enough, they could make another Final Four run and go back-to-back Final Fours.
I don't know what the latest is. Is UConn getting a 2 seed because the second half of the bracket is not out yet? But do you believe that Paige Beckers has a run in her?
Yes. I think it's hard to ever count somebody like Paige Beckers out. And I think she's going to be extra hungry since this is her last season and she doesn't have a natty under her belt. So I think that she's going to will her team as far as they can possibly go.
UConn has had some pretty like shocking, I guess not too shocking because they've lost to really great teams this regular season, right? But like, what do they have to do to actually make it to a Final Four? Like, what about their team? I know AZ Fudd's been playing really well the last few stretch of games, but is that the key? Like, they just need to get everyone to play on the next level to be actually able to win those games consistently in the tournament?
Yeah, I think mentioning AZ Fudd, she's a big piece for them. I think night in and night out, Paige Fudd, Paige Beckers and Sarah Strong are consistently their top scorers across every statistical category, whether it's assists, blocks, steals, whatever it is. Those two are going to be the top of every single scouting report. And they need to not allow teams to make their bench and their other starters look bad, go into a shell, because those are also great players. So people like AZ, people like KK Arnold, they really need to step up and not allow themselves to just kind of be on the sideline and continue to push it through Paige and Sarah. They need to match their two superstars.
Can I put you on the spot and get a top 5 list from you going 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 on best players in the country? You have to pick them in order, 5 of them, and you have to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. May I do that?
Sure.
Okay, number 5.
Oh gosh, I thought you were giving me the names. I'm just going, okay.
Well, you thought you can do it with a lot of confidence when I was doing it for you.
This
and
is
then-
legally binding. You can't change
I
your
got
mind
it.
And at
ever.
number 5, you put your 5th ranked.
Okay, yeah. I got it. I'm going to go 5th ranked. I'm going to say Madison Booker from Texas. I'm going
Texas, a 1 seed they just announced.
Oh, exciting. Do we want to hear the 1 seed first?
No.
Tex.
Okay. 5, Madison Booker. 4, Texas. 3.
I didn't hear 4.
I'm going to go 4, Paige. 5 season. We're going to go 3, Hannah Hidalgo. 2, Lauren Betts. And 1, Juju Watkins. Yeah.
It's a good list. You did it
Thank
well
you.
right off of the top of your head.
Thank you.
Let's go out to Steve Kornhacki real quick here and get an update and get Haley Jones's live reaction to what is happening with the unveiling of the women's bracket. You're muted.
Wireless is up.
Cannot hear you, Kornhacki. Still cannot hear you. Okay.
Jeremy's best
What
work
is
right
on?
now.
Hey, that's my voice. I hear it. And we're talking about the top seeds in the bracket thus far. 3 number 1 seeds have been revealed. UCLA, as Jess mentioned before, the number 1 overall seed, they sit with their 30-2 record, led by Lauren Betts, and of course our favorite down here, Gabriela Jaquez, a very important last name to think about when you're talking about Miami. But what we're looking at now is who's going to get that final number 1 overall seed. Will it be Paige Beckers in UConn? Will it be Notre Dame? Will it be Juju Watkins and USC? That's the question we have coming up, but UConn themselves have not been a number 1 seed since 2021. They haven't won a national title since ending their four-peat from 2013 through 2016. So we'll be keeping an eye. We'll keep you updated here in the studio, Dan, as we get those results coming in with the last number 1 seed here in the women's bracket.
What are your thoughts on Texas, Haley?
I think Texas is really good. I think defensively, they're really good. I think offensively, we kind of saw them get shown up by South Carolina in the SEC final, where they sagged off Roy Harmon, really made Madison Booker out of her comfort zone, and everybody else on the team, nobody else stepped up. So I think if Texas is going to go deep, they need more than Madison Booker to score. But if they have all those different people firing, they could be really dangerous.
I may be ignorant here, so forgive me if what I have here is incorrect, but I feel like the women's tournament is far less likely to produce a giant sleeper, a giant, an 11 or a 12 seed that's just running through the tournament. Do I have it wrong? I haven't looked at any of the math on this.
Yeah, I think it's definitely less often that we see an 11 or 12 seed go pretty deep. I know a few years ago, Creighton was a big sleeper team, and now they've been top 25 ever since. Gonzaga is usually around that 11 or 12 range, and they can make some upsets. But I do think it's definitely less likely for them to go as far as a Elite Eight, but I could see some upsets in the round of 64 and round of 32.
Check out her show, Sometimes I Hoop, on YouTube and wherever it is that you get your podcasts. Haley, thank you for making the time for us. We appreciate the expertise, the information, and the general excellence.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
How is Kornhacki feeling right now? That is a very vulnerable moment for poor Jeremy.
I feel great.
He loves the sound of his own voice.
I do.
And
No fist bump there, huh, buddy?
Hey, I feel great. I've done my
Kornhacke's
job.
Jeremy?
Hey, Notre Dame, 3 seed in Texas's region. I find that really interesting. TCU and Notre Dame as the challengers to Texas. Jess, I know you must not be very happy to see Notre Dame as a 3 seed in this tournament when everyone thought they would at least be a number 2 seed.
I'm not that surprised. They really stumbled at the end of the season and had a real bummer of a final. 2 of their 3 regular season games they lost, both against ranked teams. One was in double overtime against NC State, which is a 2 seed in the tournament. So obviously not like a terrible loss. Florida State's also in the tournament. They're a ranked team. But then they lost in the semifinal to Duke and just offensively haven't looked the way they looked at the beginning of February. Everything changed really when I went to the Notre Dame-Miami game, and I think I may have accidentally jinxed them for good because their offensive players, after I saw them play here in Miami, have just not been playing well. And at the beginning of the year, in January and February, they were looking like a surefire Final Four team. And I think I jinxed them. They're going to either, if they do make it all the way to the Sweet 16, there'll be a rematch with TCU, who they played in November in the Cayman Islands. They lost to TCU in that game. They were a little shorthanded, though, at the beginning of the year with injuries, so that could be interesting. And then they also beat Texas, the 1 seed, back in November, also in double overtime in South Bend. So a couple potential rematches. Also Louisville, obviously, a team that Notre Dame plays often in the ACC, a rival who they beat 2 weekends ago. So a lot of teams that Notre Dame's already seen before in this side of the bracket. But yeah, not that surprised they slipped down because they really need to figure it out.
And Dan, I know you want to know who's in, who's out, who's upset, who's happy. If we were looking at ESPN's projections of the last 4 teams in, it was Iowa State, Washington, Columbia, and Princeton. All 4 of those teams did end up making this bracket, just with 3 regions revealed. So all 4 of those teams on the bubble have made it. Now you're looking at teams like Virginia Tech, St. Joe's, JMU, UNLV, Minnesota, Colorado, Arizona, Middle Tennessee. Those are the teams that are going to be on the outside looking in as a couple of Ivy League teams sneak in there at the end. Dan, back to you.
Thank you, Jeremy. Chris, what are you doing there with the robot voice?
Well, Dan, as we head towards the finish line,
Chris is the robot?
I want to remind people that Selection Sunday is brought to you by Evan Williams Bourbon, game day's #1 pour. Evan Williams Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, Bardstown, Kentucky, 43% to 45% alcohol by volume. Enjoy responsibly. 21 plus.
Hold on.
Are we going to fill out the rest of the bracket with Kornhacke before we leave the air? Because I did want to ask you guys a question that doesn't have anything to do.
White Lotus watch party?
With,
oh my God. We didn't talk about the penis.
I'm going to watch episode 1 tonight with my wife when I get home. So excited.
Wait, you're in the future. You should know how it ends.
It's great. I'm talking season 3. What are you guys talking about?
You're starting season 3 tonight?
Season 1. Starting the series with my wife.
Okay, so you're starting. What do you
I'm
do?
getting confused with the characters that I'm playing right now.
The thing that I wanted to ask you about watching stuff with your wife is that I was in the middle of Paradise, 8th episode, last episode, season finale, and my wife fell asleep. What do you do?
Divorce.
That's a tough one. I think you got to rewatch the episode with her and just observe her. You know what happens now.
Yeah, I think this is obvious. I think you keep watching
Yeah.
it, but pretend like you stopped, and then or pretend like you didn't notice she fell asleep if she does actually wake up before it ends. But then you offer to rewatch the second half of it and pretend like you don't know what happens. I've done that 100 times.
Were you surprised with what happened?
Yeah.
You lie?
Yeah, how are you about lying? Because there's a couple moves here that I can walk you through. So you could watch it, and in the situation that Jess said, when she wakes up, you do one of 2 things. You either pretend you didn't know she was asleep, or you pretend to be asleep also. And then if she's like, hey, are you watching that? You're like, whoa, you do one of those where you like jump, what? Like you get scared and you're like, were you watching without me? And then you flip it on her, right? Like you do that. That's one move. 2, you just watch it and then you're honest. And then you say, I watched without you. And then that leads to divorce. So you don't want to do that. So you say, You watch it, and then you pretend that you didn't watch it. And then if she wakes up, you pretend you were asleep. That's what you do. Then just watch it again. That's marriage. You watch something, you finish watching it, and then you just have to rewatch it and pretend you didn't watch it. That's how it goes. Do you think when you're at work all day, Valerie's not watching shows behind your back?
I don't believe she's watching the shows that we watch behind my back. No, I don't. I'm surprised that all of you are saying you just keep going and you just lie.
I literally did this like 2 weeks ago with the season 4 Only Murders in the Building finale, Tony. Lee still hasn't seen it, by the way.
When in doubt, lie.
Yeah. I can picture you guys being very poor actors in that situation, and I can picture you guys being so bad that you actually say out loud predictions that you know are going to be right so you can seem smart on something like White Lotus.
Did you just see me do my fake waking up? What? Were you watching without me?
Great liar. Great actor.
Thank you.
Let's check in with Poppy here and see if we can make this just slightly older than Jessica enjoyed with Leonard Hamilton and Larry Larrañaga while talking about Columbo, one of Jessica's favorites and one of Poppy's favorites. Did you watch on Saturday night, Poppy?
No, I didn't watch it this time. We were watching the Heat game. You know, your mother is a big fan of the Heat, so even though they keep on losing, she loves them anyhow. So
yeah, Poppy's lost all energy.
Poppy, you sound a little tired right now. Why don't you?
No. I'm fine. I'm fine.
He just startled himself to awake like Billy did. What are your thoughts on the Heat, Poppy?
Oh, the Heat. Oh man, they can close a game. How many have they lost so far? Straight 8 now.
I don't know.
I think that they gotta extend an olive branch to Jimmy Buckets. I think that they got to bring him back, really.
That's a good idea, Bobby.
That's the missing link. They were winning, and then they shipped the guy out, and all of a sudden they can close the game.
But he's having so much fun beating the Knicks on the Warriors now.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And on that note,
Poppy, thank you for all your contributions to the show tonight.
You guys, we're all slumbying down in here, right? Because we have to be here in like 8 hours. Yeah.
You still didn't find me stumbling through words like that? You never. We'll do it tomorrow, right? It's one of. We'll just keep it. We'll find it and we'll keep it and play it tomorrow. It's as bad a stumble as I have had in my history broadcasting. Thank you.
Greg Cody level breathing going on.
Yeah, Poppy's breathing hard. He also has giant nostrils. Our thanks again to Evan Williams. We're going to try and do more of these ridiculous and silly things. Thanks to everybody who watched. Thanks to everybody who participated. And thanks to that guy who used Greg Cody on Cameo to become a surefire #1 seed in our tournament tomorrow. Good night, everybody.